Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome into Hangin with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 1130 The Tiger in Shreveport. With us on CST, Facebook Live, and our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. We were supposed to have Matt Flynn with us today. Today was supposed to be the first flustering with me and attendance. So Flynn just dropped out on us. Called what? Maybe an hour ago, something like that, or was it a little earlier than that?
So anytime that he's coming on, I'll shoot him a GIF of a radio, a stereo, boombox, John Cusack holding it up, and that's kind of my sign, like, hey, let me know that you're in.
Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah, that's kind of how we work. And so he didn't answer, and I was like, hey, which hour do you want to come? Because he's going to come in an hour every Wednesday, and I got a call. And anytime I get a call, I'm like, oh yeah, here it is. Mm-hmm. This is the first time in Matt Flynn's history his excuse is actually valid. Congratulations to Matt and Lacey Flynn on having a healthy baby girl. So,
we're gonna
he
let
actually
him slide.
had a pretty decent excuse this time. So, Lacey had the baby, and so Matt is now a father of three. He goes from playing man defense to zone defense. Can't wait to hear how that plays out.
Well, congratulations. That's terrific. And, next week, maybe.
He'll be here.
He'll be here next week.
Look, for as flaky as he is, I think it's a lot of talk because typically he does – show up. And I've got to admit, so I was doing a podcast downstairs with Cody Worsham, and I got in here like 5 minutes ago. If this is what Ronnie Rance feels like coming in here this late, I don't know how he lives because I got anxiety about coming up here this late, Hanny.
He's a relief pitcher. You had to go on short notice. You got to be on the ready.
That's fair.
Your podcast with Cody Worsham, and he's going to be with us later on today in the 2:00 hour. The rings got delivered yesterday. The championship rings. If you haven't seen it, LSUsports.net. Really nice. Not only just the pictures, but the feature piece to go along with it. It talks about the design of the rings, right. And it's 3 rings, and it explains why there's 3 rings in the deal. There's a ring for the SEC championship. There's a ring for the national championship from the NCAA, and there's
CFP,
CFP, and there is a ring for the national championship from LSU.
Right,
they're really nice rings.
They're really nice rings. Look, I am so fortunate that I actually get one. I get the CFP for being a part of the radio coverage and social media and all that stuff. So I'm extremely excited about that, and I love the fact that they get 3 rings. We got 3 rings in 2007. Because, as you know this, Hanny, winning the SEC is damn tough.
Yeah.
And it deserves its own ring and its own moment. So I love the fact that LSU, they give that to the SEC champions. And they did a fantastic job because a lot of teams that get the CFP ring and they don't really design it themselves, it's kind of basic. Well, LSU threw a little bit of their flair in there, right? We do everything a little extra here at LSU. We put some time and effort into it. And I love the purple that they added to the ring. It's got a little, it's a circular look. It's not the typical square look. So they did a fantastic job, and I'm so excited for everybody to get these rings because yes, the players and the coaches, they deserve the rings, but the weight staff, the training staff, something Cody and I were talking about downstairs. Hey, the content team. Think about how big the social media team was for LSU this year and how cool it was to play for LSU and be an LSU fan because of everything they were pumping out there. And I know how much work they put in each and every week being in those meetings, and so they deserve a ring. And I'm glad that everybody gets to experience this together because LSU last year had some unity that was hard to deny. Everybody had the same goal. They're pushing for the same goal. Nobody cared who got the credit. And, when you get the rings, that's kind of like the final just stamp on, hey, you're the best.
So who's got the most rings of anybody in LSU history?
It's got to be Greg Stringfellow, doesn't it? I mean, he's been here since the early 90s. Oh, Nader. It's Coach Nader.
Well, I was just going to say, across all the sports, I've got a different answer, and I've got a reason. I'm going to tell a story here for a second. Jim Hawthorne has, and I brought it. You jogged a memory when you said that the radio crews also get the radio, TV. Everybody that's involved with the organization gets a ring. I got a ring, in 2009, we were part of the baseball team. So when the flood of 2016 happened, and I don't know if you remember this, but Jim was stranded. Yeah. And we had to – they literally sent a boat out looking for him. He had made it back to safety. But one of the first things he salvaged out of his house that was completely flooded was his box of rings. And Jim stayed with me for about a week while he's getting his affairs in order because his house was completely flooded out. And as he was doing it, he says, all right, I'm going to leave the rings here for the foreseeable future, and you just hang on to my rings, and I'll get them whenever I get settled back in my house. So the rings stayed at my house and he had it really well done. It's this huge box with glass top on it, and it was somewhere between 35 and 40 rings between football, baseball, basketball over 35 years. SEC championship rings, national championship rings, bowl game rings, a lot of those. It's a really nice collection.
Oh, absolutely. LSU does a great job of giving you the box too.
Right,
to be able to
and
display
so
it.
he had that big deal of all of those rings. So I gotta get a picture of that. I should have taken a picture of that while it was still at my house.
I would love to know who has more though. I mean, because Coach Nader's been here since Moby Dick was a minnow.
Yeah, well, sure. If you're talking about just football rings, it's got to be Sam.
Yeah,
for sure. Across the three sports, Jim was here for a long time. Kevin Wagner also, who is LSU television, has been there just about as long as Jim, and of course Kevin's still working. So Kevin Wagner might be the answer to that question. Although he had some of his rings stolen in a break-in years back, so I don't know if he physically has.
There's
all
so
of
many
those.
people that I know that have had their rings stolen. My brother had his high school. We won a national championship at Evangel in 1999, USA Today. And somebody stole that ring, and that's just something like, even if you get a replacement ring, you can't get the magic.
If you have your name in it, it pretty much gives them no chance to resell it. You just melt it, But the real value of the ring is, to me, in the. I mean, there's value in the gold and the stones and all that in it, of course, but the real value is in the design. Right. And if it's got somebody else's name on it, I mean, you go to the local pawn shop and. Bound to ask some questions,
it says
right?
Hebert on there. That's not your last name, right? So, give me that ring back.
Exactly. Where'd you get this from? All right, so I want to ask another question about the rings, because you sort of been through this before, where you've been on a championship team, but you graduated, so you didn't have to worry about putting that behind you. This is, I think, for all intents and purposes, the last organized team activity to celebrate the 2019 national championship. I mean, they're going to run the flag up, I'm sure, before the first game at Tiger Stadium, but I don't really count that. Right. This is the last thing, and every championship team talks about, we accomplished a great thing. When we're finished with our careers, we'll talk about it forever. Yeah. But this year, we got to put that behind us, and we got to move forward. And for more teams than not, it proves too tough a task to.
And that comes from the top, Hanny. Yeah. That has to come from the top. It can't be lip service, because you're exactly right. Every coach is going to get up there, and they're going to wait until the first meeting of spring practice. Hey, we're a new team. We got new goals. We can't remember last year and all the glory. Coach O, and I kid you not, in his post-game press conference, as you probably remember, he said, we got to get more. This isn't it. We got to go get more. This one championship isn't it. I saw Coach O in the hallway at the ops building the first day of fourth quarter program, which is their big off-season conditioning program. He said, Hess, we got to move on. Last year was last year. I talked with Coach O when I was hosting the national championship parade, right, emceeing that event, and Coach O comes on stage. He's like, man, this is all great. We got to move on. We got to move on to next year. This got to be the last thing. And that was a personal conversation. This wasn't in front of everybody. Wasn't on TV. Wasn't on camera. But that's how he truly thinks. And so I bet you Coach O is excited as he is to get these rings and to be able to glorify what they did, which is the best college football season of all time. I bet last night he had, okay, thank goodness that this is over, and now we can focus on the 2020 season and this team, because that's just the way that his DNA is made up. And so a lot of coaches say that, but when this coach tells me time and time again, I truly believe him in the fact that he wants to move forward, and one championship for him isn't the end goal.
I believe that. I firmly believe that about the coach, but the players have to believe that, and the players they can't just say that they believe it. We've seen it happen many times. The players will say, "Absolutely, I'm moving forward. We want to win another championship." But I'll just bet you that when the 19 team gets around to talking about all of the things that they did last year, they'll talk about beating Clemson. They'll talk about beating Alabama and Oklahoma and Florida and Auburn.
Yep.
And I bet there'll be very little talk about what fall camp was like last year or the Georgia Southern game. That one will kind of fade into their memories. And that's where you got to start. They don't get to start in week 8. They don't get to start even with an SEC game. They don't get to start in the playoffs for sure. They got to start with Texas San Antonio, who they'll beat. I get it. But there's a method into how you go into that first game and what you look like as to where your mindset is. I know they're going to win that game. I know they're going to win that game handily. They won the Georgia Southern game impressively, not handily.
Yeah.
You can beat a team that you have infinitely more talent than by 4 or 5 touchdowns and look bad doing
absolutely.
it. They didn't look anything but
games.
dominant.
Yes.
Okay, against Georgia Southern last year. So we'll start to get a little bit of the idea against Texas San Antonio. Let's see how sharp. I don't expect them to be Joe Burrow against Oklahoma sharp in the first game of the year, but you do get a little bit of the mindset as to how well camp went, to how focused they are when they come out for the first game.
Now, if there's any positives of replacing all that they lost last year, it's the fact that the new starters aren't going to sit back on what they did a year ago, right? Miles Brennan knows what he has to do. Whoever the running back is knows what he has to do. Terrace Marshall realizes what he has to do, right? He's got to, as dominant as Terrace Marshall was in the red area last year, and I think he's one of the best receivers in the country, he knows he's got to step his game up another level because he's going to be the guy, right? You got to take over for Jefferson, and him and Chase have to create this duo. You've got a new coordinator on defense. So Bo Pelini comes in. He knows what he has to do. He can't rest on what they did a year ago, and that is one positive when you're replacing everybody, because I've been on teams. When you've got new blood in there, everybody's hungry, and they can't worry about last year because they were a part of it. No, like it's foolish to say like guys like Terrace Marshall weren't a part of it, but now it's a bigger part, and now it's a different role. And so they realize that, and that's one positive you can take from starting over with some new starters.
Unique thing to try to get over a championship that I saw was when the Saints won the Super Bowl. The next year they came back. It was a very strange ceremony they had at training camp. They buried essentially a capsule of the 2009 season. I think it had a jersey in it. I think it had a replica trophy. It had the posters, whatever it had, maybe even a ring. They buried it and said, 2009 is over. We're going to 2010. And then they got about halfway through the season. Things weren't going well. They dug it up. So, bring that back. Maybe that stuff needs to be in here after all.
Yeah.
And the 2010 season didn't end in great fashion for New Orleans. So LSU will look to move on. But we'll hear a little bit more about the design of the rings and stuff like that from Cody Worsham. He's right in the middle of all that. He'll be with us at 2:15 today. The Pelicans take off for Orlando, be arriving in Orlando today. We'll talk with Henry Hayes. Already some concerns about the NBA bubble and some of the other sports that are experiencing problems like Major League Soccer right now, trying to get their seasons restarted. We'll talk with him. Peter Burns, who's been on the radio, I think, all week and all week. But he's going to make some time for us.
Yeah. So Peter's pulling triple shift today. He had SEC this morning. He hosted Dan Le Batard's show, and he's going to hop on with us at 1:15. So, hey, but you know what? When your nickname's Part-Time Pete, I don't feel bad about getting 3 extra minutes from you.
He's going to work with us at about 1:15 today. We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Gotros Outdoor Power, helping you with all of your property maintenance needs. Gotros Outdoor Power with 2 locations. Airline at 74 in Gonzales. Airline at Industrialplex right across from Brian Harris BMW. The Skag Zero Turns, the most comfortable and efficient mower on the market. And every time you get in with a Skag Zero Turn, you're going to get that 5-year warranty. 5 years of worry-free mowing from Gotros and Skag. But it's not just mowers. It's trimmers, it's blowers, it's chainsaws, it's pole saws, Property maintenance always takes an uptick in the summer. They can help you out with everything you need. And with the largest parts inventory anywhere in the state, you're always going to get tremendous service after the sale. Gotros Outdoor Power with free delivery on all new mowers and financing available. Again, Airline at 74 in Gonzales, Airline at Industrialplex in Baton Rouge. At Gotros Outdoor Power, we make it easy.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
New Orleans Pelicans will be arriving in Orlando today at the NBA bubble. This is the second day of 3 that we'll see NBA teams get in there. We found out this morning, reports are that Alvin Gentry has been cleared to travel with the team to Orlando. Gentry was one of the league staff members that had to go under additional testing because of his age. He just turned 65. So Gentry has been cleared. He'll be with the Pels in Orlando. Henry Hayes on Hoops, joins us now, and we'll talk a little bit about this. Henry, good afternoon. How are you?
Well, I'm great, Charlie. I've actually never been on or met Jacob Hester, so Jacob, nice to meet you.
Glad to have you on. Absolutely. Yeah, I tricked Hanagriff into coming on the show.
Yeah, we're launching all kinds of new initiatives here this week. So I wanted to ask you about this this bubble, and we're a day into this thing, and already we're starting to see some warning signs. Adam Silver, his words last night just kind of shook me up when he basically said that this virus is not going away, and we hope what works will what we have designed will work, and we've got the ability to trace. But if these things cause another outbreak, we're going to have to shut this thing down again. And Rod Walker, I thought, did a great job in the Advocate today talking about this topic. So when we see Major League Soccer that has shut one team completely down, had another game canceled, when we see 7 of the 22 training facilities for these individual teams shut down before they even get to Orlando, Henry, there's going to be positive cases. I don't know how many they consider an outbreak, but how confident are you that they're going to be able to pull this off?
Well, Charlie, I'll still pull kind of an Aaron Rodgers here and just say, let's relax. I think you just said relax.
Yeah.
But look, couple things. One, Silver is simply covering himself with the worst case scenario. What he really means to say, and if you really listen closely and read into those words, once they get everybody in the bubble, now, they've been testing these guys for 2 weeks, so it's not like Anthony Davis is going to show up and he's got his first test. They've been doing this daily for a couple weeks. So once they get those folks inside that bubble at Walt Disney World, so long as he doesn't see a spike, once that happens, they're good. But obviously, if the bubble gets pierced, so to speak, and for some reason you have a rash of a positive test going up, once they get there, then they have problems. But I think he's just covered himself there, Charlie, because we've talked about this before on your show. There's so many reasons and so many layers to this, which really point to they have to play. And so, we can cover that again, but they're going to obviously do everything they can do to get this thing off the ground. And look, they knew there were going to be positive tests. I think right now we're up to 22 players that have opted out, whether for injury, personal, some are impending free agency, some are actually coronavirus. So again, they knew that was going to happen. And so this thing is evolving, but I still think they're playing basketball.
Henry, we've seen some college teams, depending on how many positive tests they've had, they've shut workouts down. Now, there's not a certain number. Some have had 5 and they've shut it down. Some, have had as high as 15 and they have not shut their workouts down. So when you see this NBA in the bubble, is there a certain amount of positive tests that a team is going to shut it down? Is it up to the NBA or is it up to that franchise?
Yeah, Jacob, it's a good question. I think that the league is in pretty good shape in that the owners, i.e. Adam Silver, and the NBA PA, the NBA Players Association, they work pretty well together. And he's got LeBron James and Chris Paul in his corner. And by the way, guys, it's kind of something surfacing really recently. Garrett Temple is clearly that third voice in that room. And he's the vice president of the NBPA, and LeBron James and Chris Paul are the names, but Garrett Temple has really risen in terms of his leadership and his voice amongst the players. So kind of an interesting local side note there. But Jacob, they haven't set a number. I think the more the focus is, look, if these are asymptomatic tests or you test positive and they have a protocol to handle that, then that's what they're going to do. I think when it starts getting a little dicey, let's take the Nets, for example. The Nets are, frankly, at this point, you could argue they shouldn't even show up because, Wilson Chandler opted out, Spencer Dinwiddie's coronavirus, DeAndre Jordan is coronavirus. They don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. And yet they have a lead on the Washington Wizards, so it's kind of ironic. But when you start getting into a team's bench, like the Nets, and they're not going to be able to field a team, then I think that's when you say, okay, we got to take a look at this. But I think as long as they can keep, again, Silver wants to get them on the ground in Florida and then put the bubble on them, and then they think at that point they've got to go forward. And so we shall see.
All right, I don't want to cast any shade on anybody that is trying to forward things and get sports played and try to get me to a yes, but they put out a 166 page, I think it was, manual of protocols. They made sure that these teams were going to be in these really nice hotels. They made sure they had entertainment. They were going to be able to play cards and video games and ping pong, as long as it wasn't doubles ping pong. And they were going to be able to go to Disney World at times and all of this stuff. And all of the trouble that they went to, they show up last night, the first 6 teams, I think it was, and they're quarantined to their rooms for the first 48 hours. And they gave them airline food. Okay, Henry, I mean, this is the billion-dollar NBA. They show up and they've got a celery stalk and a
they get the box that you get on international
and a stale
flights,
grilled cheese sandwich. Who was in charge of food?
Yeah, that was a clear miss. Look, they should have just come down to New Orleans, guys, and taken about a dozen of the restaurateurs in New Orleans, and they could have fixed that real quick. But, yeah, you're going to have things like that they miss. But to your point, Charles, that's a big miss. I mean, you know, and these guys are different than NBA players 10, 15 years ago. You take a guy like a LeBron James or even a Giannis Antetokounmpo, every single, something that they put into their bodies is measured, weighed, prepared. I mean, these guys are pretty meticulous. No, that's not everybody, but that was a miss, and the NBA's got a little egg on their face for that.
It was a ridiculous picture. I mean, it's literally a celery stalk and a stale grilled cheese sandwich was the first one. Okay, let's shift gears here for just a second. We talked with Billy Embody earlier in the week about Moussa Cisse, and it by all indications right now it looks like he is a heavy lean towards Memphis, and LSU was in great shape for a while there. Now not so much. They're going to give it their best shot to the end. But they are kind of hedging their bet a little bit, and there is a player, and Billy reported this yesterday, named Yor Ani. I hope I'm saying that properly. A 6'10" sophomore from Oklahoma State. A couple things about him. He is a shot blocking machine. He averaged over 2.2 blocks per game last season, and he's in the top 10 in Oklahoma State history in career blocks. And Oklahoma State is going on probation, so he is going to transfer, and LSU is trying to get in there. Henry, you remember the team from 2 years ago and how important Cavell Bigby Williams was to that team. This player, Yor Ani, looks an awful lot like the Cavell Bigby Williams transfer, a shot blocker that can give you some points and some presence in the paint as a rim protector. So how important is that to this team if they don't get him? And what are your thoughts on how Will Wade's trying to finish out this roster?
Yeah, Charlie, so clearly it looks like, a bit of a hedge. And, Wade and his staff aren't going to get caught with no dance partner. I think clearly you saw a really good team last year, the one that was cut short at the SEC tournament. The glaring obvious hole was size. When you've got Trenton Watford at 6'7" playing your big or Emmett Williams at barely 6'6" in bare feet, you have a deficit there. And then to your point, 2 years ago we saw where Bigby Williams made a big difference. And it's weird, Charlie, because he's not really made for today's game. There are a dwindling number of guys in the NBA that play that style, i.e., big body, active, can rebound, defend, definitely good weak shot blockers. But if you can't shoot, if you can't take your guy out to 20 feet, the NBA is really, really hard to play in right now. So, he's trying to cobble himself a role to play professionally. But I think that's the one piece that this LSU team is missing. Because remember, Charles, Will Wade wanted to get back to a little bit of the composition of those teams he had at Virginia Commonwealth, which were, guys between 6'3" and 6'7", 6'8", very long, that he wanted to play full court. And when you do that, ideally you want to funnel the ball to the rim and have a guy that can protect that rim. So didn't have that. This guy would fill that bill. Look, one thing you don't need any more of is a guy who wants to shoot the ball. Between Cam Thomas and assuming you get Darius Days and Smart back, some of the other guys they've got coming in, Josh LeBlanc from Madison Prep will be here. You've got offense. You need to be able to protect the paint and rebound, and they want to run. And so if they do get him, I think it's not the piece in Cisse. And by the way, Charlie, that thing has been a roller coaster. So until that ink is dried, I'm not giving up the fight because we've had a lot of twists and turns, including the kid maybe going to the G League. So stay tuned. But this kid would definitely help in terms of being a body and doing two things they want him to do.
Your Hanny last year for Oklahoma State averaged 8 points and 5 rebounds and 2.7 blocks per game. Cavell Bigby-Williams 2 years ago for LSU averaged 8 points and 5 rebounds per game. 8 points and 6 rebounds per game and blocked right about 2 shots per game. So there's a lot of and they're almost exactly the same size. Bigby-Williams might have been an inch taller, but it's really, really close. And this kid is a better free throw shooter than he was. He made 70% of his free throws last year for Oklahoma State. So there's some comparisons to be drawn there if Cisse does indeed go to Memphis. Your Hanny, 6'10", out of Oklahoma State, looking to transfer, could be a missing piece for LSU. Henry, appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today. Thanks a whole lot. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll get you guys a couple of those chicken sandwiches with a bag of nuts from the bubble.
Don't forget the celery stalk, man. We're trying to be
Cup
healthy
of peanut
here.
butter with the celery stalk.
Yes, absolutely.
You got it.
Thanks a lot. All right. Again, you can watch us on CST, on Facebook Live, on our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
And we're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. This is stuff out of the Bayou Ford Huddle. We promised to make the Bayou Ford Huddle a part of our daily show, and we'll respond to as many questions as you can, and the ones that are legit. For instance, no, I'm not going on vacation with Champ next week. Took my vacation.
You've already taken that vacation.
I do believe vacation is over for the foreseeable future. There was a question, and I'm going to combine a few of these. That one of the big questions about that bubble is that the personnel at Disney are not confined to the bubble.
Right.
The people that prepare the food, clean the rooms, etc., they're not confined to the bubble. It was a big question mark for the Players Association, and as near as I can tell, it's okay. They're going to go through all of the protocols, but yeah, they're going to go home at night. They're not staying on property. If I know I've kind of asked you this before, but you were a player, and they said, listen, you got to go. You got to be in this bubble. You got to be away from your family for anywhere from 5 to 14 weeks.
Right.
How would you have reacted to this?
It'd have been very difficult. There's no question about it. I've told you how much I hated training camp because for 6 weeks, I had young children, didn't see my children or my wife, maybe for 5 minutes here and there, or maybe after a preseason game before, you go back to the hotel or whatever. And that's very difficult. You feel like you miss a lot. But, at the end of the day, it's your job. It's your livelihood. That's how you put food on the table. So, for me personally, there's nothing that would have kept me from joining my team. And it's, even if it's hard for me to say because I wasn't playing during a pandemic, if this is what we have and this is what we know, there's no question that I would have been there with my teammates. And as hard as it would have been 14 weeks away from your family, I think the families that are already in this, they understand. Like my wife, like her uncle and her dad played in the NFL, so she knew what she was getting into, right? She knew the training camps and how long I was going to be away and all those things. Well, these families, for the most part, understand that. And, it's a very difficult time, but the NBA has tried to lay out something where they feel like this is the model that we can have and we can feel comfortable about. Now, there is question marks in that. I would have questions like why everyone taking care of everything, right? The facilities and who's cooking the meals and all this stuff. There's plenty of room at Disney to house them as well. Like that would have been something that if I'm the NBA, I almost said NFLPA, that means they would have had to do something, Hanny. The NBA Players Association, I would have said, hey, take one of those 72 hotels we have on the property and put up the staff in there and treat them and pay for that as well. Add that into the budget. We've got the money. That makes it more safe for everybody to do that. So that aspect of it, I don't know why that was not done.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't.
Yeah.
That would have been a reasonable cost added to this. So the next thing is that we saw what happened with Major League Soccer, and I'm sorry to tell you I don't follow Major League Soccer a whole bunch. But
we're gonna get you there.
Yeah, but one of the things I did follow is that they shut the Dallas team down, and that they've shut down another game. They're in Orlando too. They're trying to finish, or some of the guys are down there in Orlando trying to finish this, and they have had I'm going to call it an outbreak. Okay, that's enough to shut down one team. We're going to see this with the NBA. We're going to see. I hate to use the word outbreak because that suggests that the entire league has multiple cases on every team, but it could be on one team. we're going to see multiple cases. Yeah. If we saw enough cases in individual buildings to shut down roughly a third, then you put them all in one spot, you can do the math. Yeah. It's going to be how they react to that. Would they shut down a team? Would they shut down a series? How would they handle the protocols? I think it's going to set precedent for a lot of the things that we do moving forward with these bubbles, using my air quotes here a little bit. There was a meeting, a conference. The National High School Federation had, usually they do a convention, but they had it was visual this year. They had the NCAA's head medical practitioner come in, and he said the two sports in the most jeopardy in his mind going forward in this next school year were wrestling and basketball.
Right.
And the reason is very easy to see. You have the most contact with the least amount of protective gear, and both sports are inside. At least in football, most of the time you're outside, and you've got a reasonable amount of protective gear. Basketball, you're body to body. Wrestling, you're body to body, and both sports are indoors. If they can get through this, I think it'll bode well. If they can't, I'm worried we're going to take a step back.
The biggest question I have is how many tests is it going to take for a team to say we got to shut it down?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's going to be the biggest question, because is it 3? Is it 4? We know you have replacement players kind of ready to go. We've even seen like J.R. Smith sign with the Lakers right after Avery Bradley decided not to go. So you're going to have that. But, you know, what if you're in the middle of a playoff series, Hanny, and you've got 3 players all of a sudden, they pop up, they test positive. You know, is that other team going to wait on you? Are you going to move on? Is that other team advance? Like that's the biggest question, because, you know, like I was asking Henry, like we've seen college football teams shut it down, and other teams that have triple the positive test continue to push forward. And it's kind of been a team by team, university by university basis. Is there a certain number? Does the NBA have a plan that if this team has this many positive tests, they know exactly what they're going to do? You can't halt it. It's been moved, like, you've already pushed everything back as far as it can be pushed back. You and I were talking during the break, right? You can pull your name out of the NBA draft in August, the NBA drafts in October. You can't push things back any longer. So do you move on from that team? That, to me, you know, there has to be, I guess, a set number, but, you know, what's that number going to be, and what action are you actually going to take? And, I mean, you mentioned FC Dallas in the MLS. Well, you said Dallas. I'm helping you out here. FC Dallas.
What does the FC stand for?
Football club.
Okay.
Our football club.
Gotcha.
So FC Dallas, right? Well, my brother and sister actually play for the U15 FC Dallas travel team, boys and girls, and they've shut all that down, and they've sent out literature to them just because the main team, the FC Dallas main team, you know, has had all of these things, and so they've shut it down from like top to bottom, you know. So everybody's taking it different. Everybody's shutting things down differently. Other people are pushing through things a little bit differently, and so, you know, I kind of like that they had the freedom to make their own decision, but it feels like you're going to get a more uniform answer in the NBA as far as this amount of tests. If this happens, this is what we're going to do, and it's not going to be an individual franchise basis.
I agree that it's going to be an NBA decision. I just wonder if I'm nervous that it's going to be unilateral across the board. When Rudy Gobert tested positive, they shut the whole league down.
The world shut
down.
Well,
the world shut down. The
NBA
shut the whole thing down. Now, this is different. We know way more about the virus now than we did in March.
Right.
And you have a finite group of people here that would be affected by it. But I still wonder what that number is that triggers this mass shutdown. The other thing I wonder, and we ran out of time with Henry, but I was going to ask him. I'll ask you. One person has been surprisingly quiet about all of this stuff, and that's LeBron James.
Yep.
They get there tomorrow. The Lakers get there tomorrow. He's going to talk at some point, and I just wonder, this may be a little bit out there, but James is the unquestioned leader of the players. I mean, I know Chris Paul is the head of the union, but James runs the show.
Right.
I really wonder if this would have been last year when the Lakers were out of it, how the reaction of the players. I mean, you're grinning at me, but I mean, think about it.
Right.
If LeBron didn't have a championship on the line here, if they weren't the favorites or the very least the co-favorites to win this thing, would they have gone through And I know there's a lot of money on the line for a lot more people besides LeBron James, but he hadn't said a word here recently. I mean, he's on Twitter and stuff like that, but I'm talking about as far as the restart and the bubble and all that. He's been very quiet. We're going to hear from him tomorrow or Friday, I would guess. Any ideas what he's going to say?
It's a great point because in other times we've seen LeBron be outspoken. He's kind of been in the forefront of anything really that goes on.
Whenever it benefits him.
In the NBA.
Whenever it benefits him, he gets very vocal.
You are exactly right. And it is funny. I think this championship run absolutely has, the reason why he's been so quiet. I don't think there's no doubt because they know that they have a championship team. They realize that they are the favorites, and they realize that to win the championship, Hanny, you got to bounce the ball on the court and you got to put it through the hoop. You have to have a game. And there's no doubt in my mind that has led to why LeBron has been so quiet.
It sounds cynical to say this, but if we were at this point last year when the Lakers were out of it and the Warriors were going for another notch on the dynasty, it was before Durant got hurt, before Klay Thompson got hurt, the Warriors were in position to win again. They almost won it anyway. Well, they got to the finals anyway. I just wonder if this was last year at this time and we had the pandemic last year, if LeBron would have come out and said, you know what, we really don't need to play, wouldn't have benefited him. And he was, I'm not. He wouldn't even had to go. The Lakers were near the bottom last year.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have even qualified.
Might not have qualified for this.
You know what, King James ain't gone. Well, we don't need to play.
The NBA's extremely lucky, I guess, if you want to say that the Lakers are in the position that they're in because. If King James comes out and he says he wasn't going,
that's what Patrick Beverly says. King James says we hooping. So everybody's.
I love Patrick Beverly, by the way.
He's an unbelievable defensive player and
knows exactly how to get under your skin.
And candid.
I love it.
Candid. No, absolutely.
Every team needs a guy like that, by the way. And it doesn't matter what sport you're on. Everybody needs that guy that is not afraid of the superstar. That's going to go after. We had a guy in San Diego, Stephen Cooper, was a middle linebacker, played a long time, went to an FCS school. Nobody knew who he was, had a really good NFL career by the end of it. And he was the guy, he was going to chirp. Didn't matter if you're Tom Brady, Big Ben, didn't matter who you were. He got in Peyton Manning's head so much that we played really well against the Colts because Stephen Cooper knew exactly what to say to Peyton Manning, and he knew Peyton's checks, and he knew everything. And anytime Peyton would check to something, Coop would be like, "Oh, here it comes, right here. Here it is." And it got into Peyton's head a little bit. Remember that game that Peyton Manning threw, I think, 3 interceptions to Antonio Cromartie on a Monday night or a Sunday night?
Yeah.
And the Chargers ended up beating the Colts. We had that guy. He got under everybody's skin. He knew what to say. Even sometimes at practice, I'd be like, "Coop, if you don't shut up."
Which is what he wanted.
That was his role. It's what he wanted. He wanted to get you out of your game. And that's what Patrick Beverly is for the Clippers.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
GMFS Mortgage, gmfsmortgage.com. With rates at an all-time low, if you've been considering buying a new home but have not yet been able to execute that, these rates might be exactly what you need to get you kick-started. Or here in Phase 2, a refi might be exactly what you need to free up a little bit of cash and the ability to skip a mortgage payment or two. So not only short-term benefits, but obviously long-term benefits with a better mortgage rate as well. Do what I did and thousands of others have done and start your journey at gmfsmortgage.com. You'll meet with a local counselor. They'll lay out all of your options, whether you're in the market for a new home, whether you want to do a refi, maybe a construction loan for your current property is what's in the cards for you. It's a very simple process to answer a few questions, lay out all your options, and then from there all the way through the closing, they'll take you through step by step, and there won't be any surprises. So start your journey today and have your life changed at gmfsmortgage.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In and eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Fuzzy feeling. I feel like we've gone from coronavirus updates to how we're dealing with the virus updates, which are different. When we came back in the studio off the road, Jimmy and I sat here, and it felt like every day was like, okay, this is what they're canceling, this is what they're canceling, This is how many cases. Now it feels like we're talking about reactions. So we got a couple of stories here that we want to update you on real quick before the top of the hour. The first one has to do with something that all football fans are watching, which is, are we going to have the sport, and are they going to let fans in the stadium? We got another team has made an announcement.
Yeah, so the Baltimore Ravens announced Wednesday that season tickets for the 2020 season will be deferred to the 2021 campaign, and they also added that their stadium capacity for this season, if fans are allowed to attend games, would be fewer than 14,000 seats per game.
14,000 seats. Now, this is July 8th. We've got the first now NFL team that has said we're setting a number, 14,000 seats.
That's a tiny. Look, that's a big stadium.
That's empty.
As you know, NFL stadiums, they're not like college stadiums. Everything is a chair back. You don't get bleachers in the NFL. So these stadiums are massive. The capacity might be 70,000 compared to 110,000, but it's just as big or bigger of a stadium. 14,000 people inside of that stadium, you're not going to be able to tell there's anybody in that place.
And this is just coming across. So I want to make sure I understand correctly. They have put this policy in place that this is what they're going to do, because we've seen other places. The Steelers quit selling individual game tickets. A couple of colleges, I think Iowa was one that it said, we're not.
They've already given you credits for the funds you've paid toward the 2020 season. They're pushing those credits to the 2021 season. And they have come out, and because It says, additionally, if the Ravens are permitted under state and local government rules, regulations to have fans attend games in 2020, the team announced that a reduced seating capacity at M&T Bank Stadium would be necessary. So they've put this out. They've said, hey, because of what we've got going on, because of the local government, the rules, if we have fans, that is the number.
14,000.
Fewer than 14,000.
Fewer than 14,000, and capacity is 70?
It's a little 70 and some change, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to get announcements from every
These
every
might start
team.
pouring in now.
They are. I didn't expect them to pour in quite this soon, but we're getting down to it. We've got about 2 more weeks. I would say 3 at the best before we've really got to say, all right, we got to start putting some policies in place. If we're going to play, this is what we can do. Colleges, the NFL. We've seen some high school. The Tennessee High School Association last week pushed all of their beginning workouts to the end of August, so their season is going to be compromised if they play it at all. On the other hand, NASCAR is going to let Jimmy Johnson back into the race this Sunday at Kentucky Speedway. He tested positive last Friday, but has since tested negative twice. Again, we monitor these things because if somebody down to the NBA or Major League Baseball, you test positive, how many times you have to test negative, how long? Jimmy Johnson got back rather quickly here, and he'll be racing this Sunday at the Kentucky Speedway. Take a break, come back on the other side. Peter Burns with us in hour number 2, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with
Clay. Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In and eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, It would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Are you
Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hanging with Hester and Hanny. In addition to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger, you can get us on CST, Facebook Live, and on our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Peter Burns with us here in about 15 minutes, and I hate that this has turned into a day where it's kind of newsy with all of the I guess reaction to Corona and different plans and stuff like that. With this one, I can't pass it up. Stanford, do you remember the Sears Trophy? They used to do a Sears Trophy. It was the all sports trophy in college athletics, and Stanford won it every year. And the reason that Stanford won it every year, they had a reasonable basketball program. They had a very good baseball program, and the football program was hit and miss. But they won every one of the country club sports. They had more sports than anybody in the nation, and you got as much credit for sailing as you did for men's football, basketball or football. And so they won that trophy every year. Today, Stanford announced that they will cut 11 varsity sports, and you hear that and you go, sounds like a lot, and it is. But Stanford has 36 sports that they currently offer. LSU has 20. Right. So just to give you an idea. So here's what they're cutting, and I've got a follow-up question, Jacob. So pay attention to these sports out there. There will no longer be men's and women's fencing at Stanford. This was big news. Fencing, very big in Palo Alto. Field hockey, lightweight rowing, and men's rowing.
Wait, lightweight?
Yes, there apparently are different categories of rowing.
Heavyweight rowing? Sign me up.
Well, there's lightweight rowing and there's men's rowing that are being cut. I don't know if that. I thought they called it crew, but maybe there's a difference.
Hanny, I grew up in Sunset Acres in Shreveport. I don't know crewing, rowing.
Here's where the huddle helps us out on categories of rowing and crew. Co-ed and women's sailing, squash, synchronized swimming, men's volleyball, and wrestling. Okay, so you got a couple of bigger ones.
Men's volleyball's probably actually pretty decent in the Pac-12.
Sure, yeah. And the wrestling programs have been kind of fallen by the wayside across the country for 3 decades now. I mean, LSU had one of those at one point in the '80s, and they all went by the wayside.
In the '80s at LSU.
They did. I got to go back and look the last year. I want to say they cut it. That was one of the broadhead cuts. I want to say 82, 83, 84, somewhere in there.
Did you know that Derek Dooley told Sean Jordan in 2003 there was still a wrestling team at LSU?
And he believed him?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Well, all you got to do is get some pictures of the old wrestlers.
Andy, Sean lived in El Paso. They didn't have a computer in Sean's house in El Paso. He had no idea.
So he's coming on a dual scholarship for football and wrestling?
He was an All-American wrestler, right? Had offers to do both at Oklahoma State and other places. And dude was like, yeah, we got a wrestling team at LSU. And Sean, I mean, you know Sean a little bit. It's like, Sean's so gold. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got a wrestling team. I'm going to go there and wrestle. When he got here, he's like, it's a club. No, we got a club wrestling team here at LSU.
And they got a club rugby team, too, which I think had some success. So 11 sports, but they're all, not all, but most of them are the country club sports. I'm just wondering how many of these sports, if you opened them up with the Southeastern Conference, let's just say they jumped in and decided to start sanctioning field hockey or lacrosse Okay, I always thought the Southeastern Conference, had they wanted to, if lacrosse was a deal, man, look, they could produce some lacrosse players.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they would. I use softball kind of as a gauge. 20 years ago, there was no. 25 years ago, there was no softball in the Southeastern Conference, and within 15 years, they were dominating the sport. I mean, that was a complete Pac-12 domination. The SEC got in, decided they wanted to spend a little money, build some facilities, put some money into the sport, and guess what? Now they are the dominant force. And I believe that if they wanted to dominate pretty much any sport except hockey, I don't think that the SEC could dominate hockey if they wanted to. But pretty much anything else, if they decided we want to be the best swimming conference, synchronized swimming, because that's what they cut today, they would dominate. If they wanted to sponsor 14 men's volleyball teams, they would dominate.
I think if they wanted to sponsor men's soccer, and of course we give, y'all give me a hard time, I should say, about enjoying soccer, but Houston is a hotbed for soccer, so A&M. Birmingham's a hotbed for soccer, so Auburn and Alabama. Florida, a hotbed for soccer. So there's spots in the SEC that would thrive. Atlanta, another hotbed for soccer. So Athens, right down the road. And so to your point, if you wanted to put the time, the resources, and it made sense, they could do it. But a lot of times it doesn't make sense.
They have to put resources into it. They can't just sponsor the sports. For instance, the SEC has swimming and diving. They have tennis. They have reasonable amounts of success in a lot of sports, but they don't dominate them all. I'll give you the biggest example. For years, they didn't put the resources that they needed to into men's basketball, which was always surprising to me because that's a money maker. Most of the sports
and a lot aren't.
These sports we're talking about are money losers. Now, they bring some prestige to your university, but if LSU wins the softball national championship next year, this program is not going to make money. These programs, I would imagine, at Stanford did not do anything but cost them money, but it attracted students and it gave them a little bit of, something to puff up their chest about with that Sears trophy. But men's basketball, for years, the facilities lagged behind, the coaching hires lagged behind until about, I would say, not Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't count. And Florida latched on to a dominant coach, and they had a run. And teams had their individual runs here and there, but nobody could sustain it besides Kentucky and Florida when they had Donovan. And then all of a sudden you saw the coaches' salaries upgrade, the facilities upgrade, and now the SEC's in a much better spot than they were 18 years ago.
There was a shift, Hanny. I mean, in 2014, LSU and SEC basketball is just to your point. There was not a lot of resources put into it. It was a bad product. It was a very bad. And then they started to put a point of emphasis on the facilities, but also the coaching.
They hired better coaches. Who's a better coach, Tony Barbie or Bruce Pearl?
Yeah, it's Bruce Pearl.
Okay, who's a better coach, Rick Ray or Ben Howland? That's Mississippi State. Yeah. Okay,
Ben Howland's a great interview.
And there's plenty of examples of that. I'm sorry, they upgraded the coaches, they upgraded the schedules, they upgraded the facilities, and now
they were getting embarrassed.
They're in much better league.
I've talked to people at the league office. They were getting embarrassed because the basketball product was not what it should be. And they made a shift. They encourage these universities. You've got to make better coaching hires. Yes, you have to have the facilities, but it all starts at the top. You have to hire better coaches. Like, I know that for a fact that was something that they pushed to all the 14 universities.
See, I think that if you put some money into these programs, the SEC would dominate all the teams. For instance, I think that Joe Burrow would have been a hell of a fencer. I mean, come on. you think that guy
have you ever
can't
seen
take
his tire wrestling video?
No.
We did a whole show on it one time. Well, it was Flynn. I don't know if you call it a show, but yeah, he was wrestling a linebacker with a tire at Ohio State, and he won the battle, Hanny.
Sure. Okay. So maybe we put him on the wrestling team and we let Jamar Chase fence
There we go.
or something like that. Yeah. You don't think Justin Jefferson could play squash?
Yeah.
If he practiced it 2 hours a day, don't you think he could play squash?
That's always been the argument in United States soccer, right? What if our best athletes played on the United States men's national team, right?
Sure.
OBJ was a really good soccer player. He was on some youth teams that were part of the national team, could a guy like OBJ. And so it's always been, what if you had LeBron James as your goalie and you had Ocho Cinco who has soccer skills and Kobe had soccer skills. So
Chris
it's always
Paul
kind of been the argument.
was one that always got brought up, would have been a terrific soccer player. So they eliminate 11 sports, and I don't know what this brings the number to nationally. It's approaching probably with these 11 sports, we're probably approaching 50 or something like that. Boise State cut baseball last week, which they had just brought back.
Bowling Green actually saved their baseball.
They saved
program.
it, yeah.
So that was one that.
Well, Boise State had just brought baseball back. They canceled it, and they kind of came up with a program in the middle of last week where they were going to do something similar to the kind of grassroots things they did at Bowling Green. It's like, hey, let's get some money together. We can save the program. And the administration was like, no, we don't care if you come up with it. No, we're done. Yeah. And it's not going to be the end of these programs that are doing. But
are you surprised? And I know we're coming up on a break, but are you surprised by how many Olympic or country club sports, whatever you want to call them, how long they've been able to survive in some of these other programs, basketball, football, have been able to help them out, and the budget's been so great in those sports that they've been able to fund some of those sports. Are you surprised that we're at this point and some of these schools still have that many teams?
This point meaning since the virus, or this point
meaning? No, I'm
meaning
talking about just in general, right? That we know the budget down to the final cent now. We know exactly how much football, basketball, baseball in the case here. I know baseball is not the case everywhere, but are you surprised there's so many sports when you have the budget in front of you that lose that much money that they continue to, field teams?
The universities, many universities build this into their student fees, and that's where they get a lot of the money from. For instance, very early in the pandemic when we saw Cincinnati drop, help me out, I'm trying to remember what sport they dropped, but they showed the percentage of student fees that went to athletics and subsidized athletics. It was just built in as a cost to the university, not to the athletic department. That's why for years LSU athletic directors have been very proud of the fact, and should be, that no student fees have gone to athletics at the Baton Rouge campus. And if people knew how rare that was, the subsidies come from, in most cases, the students. Yeah. And what can you say? It's sort of like bundling with the old cable packages, right? You bought 100 channels because you wanted ESPN and TNT, and you got Lifetime and the Golf Channel and
don't be hating on the Lifetime movies.
The Food Channel and how many channels? When you had 100 channels, how many did you watch?
6 max.
Yes, okay. But it all came in the same bundle. You had, all right, you want to go to school at Cincinnati? You want to go take biology and chemistry and math and all that stuff? What do you have to do? Well, you got to pay this athletic fee. Well, I'm a foreign student. I've never been to a football game and don't care to go. Yeah. You still got to pay the fee. Yep. That's kind of how that is how many of these programs have survived for as long as they have. And a lot of them get state money too. But besides that, which was something else that LSU never pulled from that coffer. Take a break. Peter Burns, when we come back, if you're watching us on CST or Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, this is Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, we're brought to you by Baton Rouge Foundation Repair. Baton Rouge Foundation Repair offers services to correct the settlement of both slab foundations and pier and beam foundations. Some signs of foundation problems at your house? Well, the door won't close. Sunken floors, cracks in the foundation, cracked outside and inside walls. Some of the things that contribute to foundation problems: plumbing leaking, evaporation, poor soil conditions, poor drainage, right? South Louisiana here. Tree roots as well. Well, Baton Rouge Foundation Repair's water chill pilings are engineered to withstand poor drainage conditions. I always tell you, they've been in the Baton Rouge area for more than 22 years, and the owner, Michael LaMonica, is a lifelong resident of Baton Rouge. Don't be asked to pay twice for your foundation repair work. Get Baton Rouge Foundation Repair's water chill pilings, and estimates are always free. Multiple ways to get those estimates. You can log online, brfoundation.com. That's brfoundation.com. You can always give them a call at 225-275-0101. That's 225-275-0101.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal, together.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, It would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In and eye out for danger.
If I build a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
With Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling.
All right, we're going to welcome back into the show, and I didn't really know how it was going to go asking Peter Burns to come on the show today. He's been hosting the Dan Le Batard show. He's gone full national on us, and so I didn't know if I was going to have to call his agent, if I was going to have to go through 6 different people to get to him, but I was fortunate enough to get to Peter Burns, and he's good enough to join us here. PB, what's up, brother?
Yeah, I'm a little upset, Hester, because I had told my assistant's assistant to change the phone number, and they still haven't done it yet. So Peter Burns is still taking Peter Burns' phone calls. Just, of course, obviously I'm joking. Yeah, I guess they couldn't figure out anybody else to host the Le Batard show this week, so bottom of the barrel, they went with me. So we haven't run it into the ground yet, I don't think.
No, I've actually been enjoying it. So you're doing that and pulling double duty on our show, SEC This Morning. So, I appreciate you lending your voice to yet another radio show today.
It's crazy because, the 2 shows that I've had the most amount of, reaction with fill-ins is obviously when I do Feinbaum. And Feinbaum's such a niche audience as well, too, right? I mean, they're a bunch of crazies. And the Le Batard group is equally as crazy. That is a intriguing group of people. They're almost upset with you when you talk sports in the show. They're like, can you give me the sports is almost like the medicine that you have to take, and you got to wrap it around like something delicious, like giving a dog a treat or something like that.
Well, you can handle that. I mean, so basically the whole show is the segment that we do on our show, Rapid Fire Water Cooler. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's just basically I'm an ADD squirrel chasing my tail for a good 3-hour deal. So yeah, I'm right at home with that show, to say the least.
All right, well, that's good to know. Hey, I wanted to have you on today, and obviously we're going to talk college football, SEC football, the whole deal, but how about those LSU championship rings? I know you had a chance to see them last night. They got released. Of course, you get 3 rings. You get the SEC championship ring, which, by the way, I know a lot of people are like, why do you have 3 rings? Peter, you know this. If you win the SEC, damn it, I should get a ring for winning the SEC.
Hell yeah, especially the way you did it, which is punk in Georgia. Absolutely, you should get it done. Yeah, I mean, so if I'm not mistaken, so you get that one, you get a college football playoff ring, and then you get a national championship ring. That's the only question I have. Like, what's the difference between the college football playoff ring and the actual national championship
Okay, so the college football playoff, the CFP, they give you kind of a generic ring. Now, it's still a nice ring, but as you know, we're a little extra here at LSU. We like to go a little bit over the top, and so they designed a national championship ring that had a little bit of pizzazz to it, right? It had some purple stones in it. It was a little churched up, if you will.
Church up. See, and there's the issue. Like, I kind of trust Pomansky to put it there. Of course, Lewis in the equipment room, I trust him. Who I don't trust at all is String. When Stringfellow is a part of the design, I was wondering how awkward of a design is going to be. Yes. But all three of the rings actually look pretty damn good. Okay.
I'll send that to String. I'll cut that up later.
Peter, it's Charles Hanagriff. We got a question from one of our listeners, and this is, I think, what everybody wants to know. I have my answer for it, but I need yours. Joey wants to know, is he a terrible person if he leaves his grocery cart at the intersection of yellow lines, but buy his vehicle if there are no cart return stations?
That puts you in the same, like that's like what a Wake Forest fan would do, or like an Oregon State fan, or like a fan of Oklahoma football would do. It'd just be like, I'm going to do just enough to show the effort, but I'm actually not going to follow through. Like, I have a huge disdain for anybody, like, when I see them. I will be a shopping cart police person in my day. Like, if this whole, like, we all get fired from SEC Network, we don't have sports, I legitimately might go work at, like, Hubbins or something like that, like, or Roush's, just to be in the parking lot, just to make sure that people actually put their shopping carts back together. Like, it floors me that happens.
This is my hope. If I were the traffic czar, parking lot czar for, forever, anything you do that takes up 2 parking spots, if you park on the line, if you leave your cart on the line, anything that takes up 2 parking spots, your driving privileges are suspended for a week, and it doubles every other time you do that. I wish I could electronically monitor that. If I had one power, it would be to enforce that law.
Or at least like some scarlet letter, like just like you have to wear it in public for like a week. Like all of a sudden there's like this flag that you have to fly, just being like, I'm a horrible human being for making these bad decisions. So, and the reason why obviously that question came in is that was a topic here. One of our producers on the Levitard show says he never ever returns the cart. He just gets the groceries, leaves the cart. And honestly, we weren't in the same studio, but I wanted to physically assault him when he said that. It was disgusting.
So if any of our 14 coaches in the SEC would leave their cart just in the middle of the parking lot, I'm going with Lane Kiffin. Do you agree?
I feel Lane would have been one. I feel like 2020 Lane would at least bring it closer to actually putting it back. I feel like 2016 Lane is the kind of guy that not only as soon as he's done with the shopping cart, he did not return it, but he would like push it in a general direction of a car. But I do feel like Lane's getting closer. Like
you've grown. You've grown.
I know I've grown. I think Lane has grown a little bit. That's why I'm so bummed that we're not having SEC Media Days this year, because I'm like, I wanted to have Mike Leach. I wanted to have Lane Kiffin, those two going back and forth with each other. Stan Pittman would have been great. Can just roll in there like Vince McMahon, like with that strut, being like, yeah, I know boxing. I kicked everybody's ass last year. What are you going to do about it? Like, and then, of course, now this year we're not going to have it, or we're going to have it in more of a virtual form. So that's going to be a weird kit and caboodle to begin with.
Peter, something you and I have talked about the last 2 SEC Media Days is we can always tell who's confident when they walk through those doors. We can always tell who is a little shy and they don't really know if they should be there or not. But last year, we were able to tell. You and I had this conversation. As soon as LSU got there, we saw the way Coach O walked in. We saw the way Joe Burrow walked in. And I remember looking at you and we were both like, okay, they're here for a purpose, right? They've got a little bit of something to them. There's some star to them. And, I'm not picking on Felipe Franks, but when he walked in, I remember thinking, man, he doesn't even look like he's sure enough if he should be here or not. That's one of the things about media day that I'm going to miss the most is you're able to tell who's got that confidence walking into the season.
Yeah, I remember vividly, the year before, remember Jeremy Johnson, the Auburn quarterback who played like one quarter of football, and everybody was like, oh, my God, he's amazing. And then he coming in the next year, I remember, interviewing him at media days, and this is when he was like, oh, this guy might be a Heisman guy. And I just came away like, there's just something not right there. And, of course, obviously Auburn struggled and Jeremy Johnson struggled. But, yeah, I mean, you do get that body language of the coaches that are kind of trying to get this fake enthusiasm about your team, or the coaches that are like, I don't need to say too much. Like, I remember last year, Mark Stoops, he was in the last 2 years, Mark Stoops was flat out pissed off.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, everybody thinks they're going to win 4 games. And he knew that, hey, we should be having a little bit more run. And ultimately, those Kentucky teams were pretty good, especially 2 years ago. And, yeah, I mean, I remember in the room and talking to Joe Burrow and stuff like that, there was that quiet confidence. And that's why spring football was so big, because they knew what they had back in spring, right? Like that national championship last year was won in spring football when they perfected this offense. And by the time fall came around, they were just, continue to run the reps, and everybody wasn't ready for it. So, yeah, it's going to be as wide open of an SEC, guys, that we've had probably in 3 decades, which is crazy. I can't wait.
Peter, we're seeing some movement here this week with some of the reactions to the shutdowns, the NBA putting their players into the bubble this week. We saw the Ravens make an announcement today about people in the stadium. As you talk to people around the league, and we're getting closer now to where they're going to have to make a decision on football and how much football and how many fans and if fans and all those things, what is your feeling, General Wright? I get it 10 times a day, and I don't know how to answer it. So let's see if you can do a better job than me on, what's next.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would say that it's a coin flip, and that's not a cop-out, because some mornings I wake up and I read the headlines and I'm thinking, oh, but there's no way that we're going to do this. And then other days, like today, Jimmy Johnson, the NASCAR driver, okay, as of last Friday, he tested positive for it. He already has 2 negative tests. Jimmy Johnson feels good. He's going to race this weekend. So it's like, all right, yes, the numbers of the cases are going up, but is this a situation where, hey, Chris Doring, my co-host on SiriusXM, he has it. My producer, Frank Fowler on SiriusXM, he has it. And I asked those guys, hey, how you feeling? They're like, well, for 2 days it felt pretty rough, but honestly, I'm all right now. So I think there's a middle ground, guys. I think we're understanding that this is not the end-all be-all. Like, if you contract coronavirus, you're not keeling over in the streets in a day from now, right? But there is a middle ground in the fact that it's not the opposite side as well, too, that 100,000 people are getting it a day, and oh, my God, we got to shut everything down. There is some type of, hey, let's do what we can. Social distance, wear masks, and realize that an older, more adverse group needs to play it a lot more safer than maybe young student athletes or a 30-year-old guy or a 40-year-old guy. But it's just become so weaponized that I'm like, why can't we just all freaking meet in the middle? Like, can't this be the collective opponent to beat is coronavirus? Not Democrat, not Republican, not North, South, not black, white. Just be like, dude, coronavirus sucks. We don't want a lot of people to get it. Let's be careful. We're going to have to live with this. We're going to play football, but also let's not say that it's not here. Like, let's find the middle ground. And I think Ogeron and LSU football has been at the key of that, because you come off a national title and you were some of the first people to say, do the right thing, wear the mask. Let's do what we can to have fans in Tiger Stadium and football in Tiger Stadium this year.
Peter, when do you think a decision's coming? You and I have talked on off air. It seems like late July is when we're really going to find a lot of information out, and these next few weeks are so important for college football and what it looks like. Do you think that date is still in place, late July? Do you think that gets pushed to August?
No, I mean, if it does get pushed at all, it'll be the first week of August, because at that point you're about a month out, right? I mean, I think if we're doing this show on August the 3rd, we will know one way or another by 10 a.m. August 3rd. I'm not saying that that's a date that I have. I'm just collectively thinking in my mind that by August 3rd, we will know what Scott Woodward wants to do, what Greg Sankey at the Birmingham office and SEC wants to do, and what Greg Byrne over at Alabama, what they are going to do. And if for no other reason, I think that we're going to have tiered ways of looking at this. I think by August the 3rd, we're going to look at this and go, all right, either we are scheduled to go because we feel comfortable with the information we have, or, hey, the first 2 weeks of the season, we're going to postpone. And then in 2 weeks later, we review it, and then we may postpone again. 2 weeks later, we may go to a conference-only schedule. And 2 weeks later, we may say, hey, you know what? We did everything that's possible to play. Factors aren't allowing us. The last-case scenario would be to play in the spring. But I think it's more of a tiered approach than a, like the Ivy League today, I think, is going to kick it all the way back to spring ball. I think they're going to say, we're just going to play in the spring. I don't think that the SEC is, or major Power 5 football is going to make that decision right now, nor any time in the next 2 weeks.
Peter, we also get this question a lot. Whose decision is this? And when it comes down to making a final decision, go or no go, who holds the biggest weight? Is it the commissioners? Is it the university presidents? Is it the individual state governors? Is it a television network? Who's going to make the final decision when it comes down to a go or no go?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would tell you it's not a TV network because we would love to see sports, right? We're like, whatever you guys can do to make it safe, let's play sports. So it's not going to be a TV network. And to a certain extent, I don't think it'll be Commissioner Greg Sankey. I mean, Greg Sankey is going to talk and give the guidance to the schools, but ultimately the two decision makers are going to be the university president and the local authorities. And when the local authorities come out and say, here's what you can and cannot do, the university presidents, I believe, are going to react to that and go, okay, here's what we're allowed to do. Now, the question is it in the best interest of the university, the students, the student athletes, the economy of a city? So I think it's really more of a 50-50. It's both local and state level officials and also a university president. Because, listen, I know I've heard some people say, university presidents, that they're going to be harder and stricter, and they just assume we don't play college athletics. No, they want to play college athletics. They know how important it is to have LSU football, not only for the pride, for the branding of the university, for enrollment, but also for the economy in Baton Rouge itself. So, again, everybody wants to tear each other down in this, and you got to realize, stop it. It's just like a collective effort. We're all trying to do what we can, but everybody has to pitch in. Because I don't want to be complaining about how we don't have football because people were willing to do the bare damn minimum when we had an opportunity to put these cases down a little bit.
Peter, last one from me. I'm just a little curious. You mentioned the SEC Network and ESPN. When will y'all have conversations as far as what y'all are going to do? Are you just playing the waiting game right now and you can't really schedule the programming that you normally would? Because one of my favorite things is when you send out an analyst and they go to fall camp and they give you a breakdown of the team and all the things that we've come to expect from the SEC Network. Are you kind of in a standstill right now as far as we don't really know either, so we have to wait until a decision's made?
Legitimately, while we're on air right now in this interview, I've gotten 3 emails on my phone, and every time I check it, I'm like, is this the email that tells us what we're doing? So, I mean, I'm absolutely in a waiting period right now. I mean, the only thing we were told is obviously Media Days was going to be more of a virtual experience, and that we're waiting to figure out when it's going to be. And so, I mean, again, these conversations are being had right now daily because they're waiting to get more and more information. And again, I still contend it was good for the student athletes to be back in early June because that gave us at least now, 3-4 weeks of information. We're learning more information, and nobody has a playbook on this thing. So we're doing our best to get this thing done, man. So I'm just trying to do my part, and as soon as I know, you guys will know as well.
Peter, we appreciate your time. We know you got 6 more shows to do today, so we're going to let you go. But you're the hardest working man going right now.
No, don't tell him. That's part-time Peter Burns. Don't tell him that.
Peter, thanks a lot.
I will tell my assistants you say thanks. Later, boys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peter Burns joining us here. On 11:30, The Tiger on CST on Facebook Live, YouTube, our 104.5 ESPN channel, and, of course, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
And we're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Like a warm, fuzzy feeling when it comes to sports. You know, we were talking during the break the day, and I mean the very day, that they play an American sport, an American team sport in a major sport. We're going to be talking about it. I'm talking about Milwaukee Brewer middle infielders. I'm talking about St. Louis Cardinal short relievers.
The utility man for the Mariners has never been talked about like he's going to be talked about before.
I can't wait to talk about games again. Believe me, it gives me no great pleasure to to have to do these updates and ask these questions, but it is what it is. It's where we are. For instance, the latest, I say the latest, has happened earlier today, but The PGA of America has moved the Ryder and the President's Cup back.
I'm sure Hunt's in a corner weeping right now, by the way.
Well, the Ryder Cup was supposed to be at Whistling Straits in Wisconsin in September. They've moved that to 2021. And the President's Cup is scheduled for Quail Hollow. They moved that to 2022. Golf is a sport that it is very easy to social distance for the players. The Ryder Cup, as much as any event in golf, is dependent on the fans for the buzz. Listen, if they are forced, and I don't know that they will be, if they're forced to go out and play the Masters in November with no fans, and I don't know, maybe they will, maybe they won't, I'm still going to watch intently because we've been able to watch golf and enjoy golf the last 3 or 4 weeks with just the players to concentrate on. But the Ryder Cup's about the fans, man. I mean, it's the one event in golf where it becomes more like a football type of crowd.
You have the golfers react to the crowd much more in a Ryder Cup than they ever would in a normal tournament. I completely agree with you. Because, I watched most of the Rocket Mortgage. I've watched most of the tournaments since they've come back, and I've actually enjoyed, maybe hearing a little bit more from the golfers. The golfers are acting a little bit different because of the fans. We've heard some say, you know what, it's a little bit easier because we don't, have the fans out here. And look, if you like going to golf tournaments, I get it. Like my father-in-law and brother-in-law went to the Masters last year, and they talked about it being the greatest thing they've ever done. And they've both been to many, many, big-time sporting events.
They saw LSU win a national championship?
I was trying not to say that.
Okay.
But they saw
Did
that.
you take that personally?
A little bit. I'm like, a golf event? But they're like, look, you don't understand. When Tiger Woods walks in front of you and just the energy that walks behind him as he's trying to get to the next tee.
Didn't you score a touchdown in the national championship game?
Yeah,
okay,
you would think,
so.
maybe. But no, that didn't touch Tiger Woods walking to the next tee. So I understand, like, being there, but I haven't missed anything because the fans haven't been there, right? And I just started watching golf as closely as I have, and because it's the only thing that we have, and I've really enjoyed it. But to your point, the Ryder Cup's different. The Ryder Cup, anytime you're talking about your country, anytime that it's America versus Europe, and you're battling, for that title, it means something to the fans, and you can react to the fans. And so I'm completely with you. It's really the only tournament, like even the Masters. Like the Masters is still going to be the Masters to me. I'm still going to watch every bit of it. I'm still going to be glued to the TV on Sunday. But for the Ryder Cup, I need that passion. You need that fan base. You need a little bit of the roar when the Americans make a putt that you didn't think they were going to make.
The PGA of America makes this call. And why I asked Peter the question, and I think it's one of the most important questions we've got going right now, is who's going to make these decisions? Where does it finally lie? And we can talk about the Ravens making a decision on 14,000 in their stadium, and eventually LSU and the Saints and Southern and every high school are going to have to make their decisions as well. But there's a governing body, right?
Yeah.
How can we talk about how many fans might be in Tiger Stadium when we can't talk about right now capacity at a local restaurant? Yeah. I mean, if you can't have a complete capacity in a restaurant, how can you talk about capacity in a 100,000-seat stadium?
It's a great point you make, and it makes it feel like we're that far away from making that decision. And honestly, we only have 6 weeks. Before.
I mean, God forbid we're
fall.
still in phase 2 on the 1st of September. But if we are, then isn't that decision now in the hands of the governor and not in the hands of the university president or athletic director?
And I'll be honest, I think at this point where we're at now and all the bad news that we get every single day, right? There's just no sunshine to pump because it's all been negative.
I'm trying, man.
And we've all been trying.
Jimmy would be fussing at me like nobody's business right now. I'd be like, well, hey, look.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
Of course, he picked out like the one negative thing you said the other day.
I'm blaming that on Cade. I blame that on Cade.
Yeah.
Cade sent him the clip.
Yeah, Cade did send him a negative clip. But I think at this point, just because of where we're at, do we want fans in Tiger Stadium? Absolutely. Do I want to be at every single game on the sidelines like I've always been? Absolutely. But if we don't get that and we get the product as we know it, if LSU's playing Texas, do I want Texas to feel the wrath of Death Valley at night?
Yeah.
You bet your ass. But if we don't get that and we still get the game, at this point, Hanny, I'll take that.
I think we're going to have to get ourselves in a place mentally where that's going to be at least in the near future, the top of the mark. We get Major League Baseball back in 16 days. We get the NBA back a week past that, and hopefully we'll get football back a month after that. The idea of having it with fans right now, and boy, look, this changes because a month ago I felt pretty good about this, but the idea of having it with fans right now is very difficult for me to get my head around, because when I ask who's in charge, and somebody in the Bayou Ford huddle said, well, the governor. Well, which governor? There's 11 of them in the Southeastern Conference, and add however many more. I didn't add up the states, but if you're talking about Power 5 conferences, add that many more governors. So which governor?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not something that the federal government is going to oversee. The commissioner then. Which commissioner? There's 5 of them. There's 5 major conference commissioners. Well, the president. Not the president of the United States, the presidents of the universities. Well, there's 14 of those in this conference. There's 65 of those in. So who's calling? If there were a commissioner of college football, which people have called for a while, our friend Tim Rando is
Timmy
one
B's called for it,
and he makes a great point. Maybe a commissioner of college football, if there was one, if there's any silver lining, maybe one gets appointed over this.
Because you make a great point, Hanny. I mean, is it the leader of the college football playoff? Is it the NCAA leader? Is it the commissioner? I mean, there's so many people, because the college football playoff, if they want to do their own thing, could they do their own thing, right? Could they make their own call? And so there's so many different voices, and everybody thinks that they're the biggest thing in town, right? When you get into these meetings with all these powerful players, well, you can't do this without us. Well, you can't do that without us. Well, can we just have some uniformity to this thing and just decide, what's best for everybody? Everybody has a voice, and who calls that shot? Maybe you put up to a vote. I don't know, but just not knowing. And even when you go to like the name, image, and likeness stuff, and Commissioner Sankey was talking about that, he's like, this has to be a federal deal, because I've got 11 different governors in my state, and all want their football programs to be the best, and they would put things in their, literature that would make it easier for them in the name, image, and likeness stuff to have their schools benefit from that, and we can't have that. And so you have these commissioners that want a little bit of help. They want an extra voice, but nobody also at the same time wants to give up their voice.
That's policy. That's easy enough to work through from one voice. That's a policy that will affect everybody equally. A player that gets paid for his likeness at LSU is the same as one that gets that at Florida or Alabama or Texas. This is different. The numbers, and I don't want to get into any discussion about whose numbers are right, because everybody says the numbers are wrong. It doesn't matter whose numbers you say. But the numbers in Louisiana are different from the numbers in Florida, different from the numbers in Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee. And all of those governors have taken different tacks on how to handle it in their communities. So even if we had one voice, even if you had a czar of college football, could he come in and tell the governor of Tennessee, well, you have to let fans in to Neyland because the governor of Florida is letting people into Ben Hill Griffin? Well, no. Nobody's got that kind of authority, and it's going to require some cooperation, but it's also going to require an intense amount of discussion and in not a whole lot of time. And nobody wants to make that call today, because if you make that call today, you're going to have to err on the side of caution. The Ravens at 14,000. That number is startling.
Yeah, when I read that number earlier in the show, I mean, that is
14 out of 7.
That is extremely low. I thought if we saw a number, it would be somewhere in the low end, 30,000. I'll be honest with you. I thought low end would be 30,000.
I wouldn't have thought you could have got 30,000 announced today, but I would have thought that
when it was announced.
If they would have held off until August and then said, look, we can get to 30. You announcing 14 today means that you don't think that you can get anything over that between now and September. And that's that's a slap in the face, sobering thought to everybody. It's like, if Steve Biscotti, the owner of the Ravens, is saying, go ahead and make the call because we got to let our season ticket holders know, and knowing how much money that's going to cost him, and he's got to go tell the league, this is where we are in Maryland. Everybody's going to have to, every other owner in the league is going to have to make this call, and then they've got a commissioner.
They've got a commissioner. They have a players association, sort of, kind of, maybe, not really. And so, they have these people who are appointed to make these decisions. And now that the Ravens have made this decision, now that this is how they're moving forward, I expect to see more today. I expect to see more teams that have been waiting. They've been waiting on that first domino to fall. Now that it's fallen, you're going to see other teams. And, hey, and we all know how everything works right now. That first team that says, I think we're going to let 50,000 in. Well, they're going to get the backlash because they're letting 50,000 in when the Ravens are only letting 14,000 in. So that's coming as well.
The thing that Burns said about the Ivy League also, the only reason that got my attention was that the Ivy League was the first domino to fall on basketball. They were the first league to say, we're done. And everybody kind of like, wow, that's a big overreaction, but we can have the NCAA tournament without Princeton. We'll be fine. And then 2 days later, everybody shut everything down. So I think that was the fear. Football's different. Okay. Yeah. They're going to wait until the last possible minute on college football.
That's why I don't think the July decision is necessarily set in stone like I felt like it was, because, again, we've talked to, I think, 7 of the 14 athletic directors from the SEC over the last month on our SiriusXM show, and they all kind of led us to believe that end of July was going to be when everything was figured out. Now, as we sit here only a couple of weeks away, it feels like that date's going to get pushed back. Right, and I say new information. Who knows what information we have every single day, because the information's all over the place. But it feels like, okay, if we have to, we can still go into August and make that decision. And I realize week 0 is a thing, and I realize some teams are playing in week 0, but you still have some time. Is it the best case scenario? Absolutely not. It's very difficult for travel, for hotels, for all the things that we've talked about over the last 4 months. But if you have time, use that time.
Take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Number of NCAA sports now cut with Stanford's 11 is up to 56. 15 tennis, 5 golf, 5 swimming, 4 track, 4 fencing, 3 baseball, 3 squash, 3 rowing, 2 soccer, 2 cross country, 2 sailing, 2 wrestling, 1 volleyball, 1 field hockey, 1 equestrian, 33 men's sports, 22 women's sports, and 1 co-ed sport. We are not talking about
My
this in hour 3.
part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
And of course, you can also catch us on CST, on Facebook Live, and on our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN. Charles Hanagriff, Jacob Hester. Cade Wazam producing today. Paul O'Neill video producing today. Somebody tell me in the building that it's Moscona's birthday.
Oh, I don't know. I don't keep up with Moscona.
I don't know. I got him the same thing he got me.
Yeah, which is nothing.
Right, correct. But that's okay.
Knowing him, I probably had to fill in for his show or something on my birthday. He didn't even care. No present.
He'll be with you in about an hour for AFR. Cody Worsham from LSU will be with us. He's part of the story that they did the ring designs. He'll be with us here in about 15 minutes. We got some reaction out of the Bayou Ford huddle about the idea of a commissioner. A couple people nominated me. I somewhat jokingly, I guess, nominated Nick Saban for selfish reasons. He's a commissioner of college football, and he can't be the head coach at Alabama. But you think about it. Who would be a good commissioner of college football in a realistic sense? Because you would say one of the current commissioners of a conference would be a reasonable guess. The only problem with that is you've had some very powerful commissioners either retire or pass away in the last 5 years. John Swofford, retiring at the ACC. Of course, Mike Slive is, retired and then passed away in the Southeastern Conference. Jim Delaney, who ruled the with an iron fist the Big Ten for years. I don't know that you've got replacements in place that are ready to go. I'm not comfortable with Greg Sankey as a college football commissioner. I'm lukewarm on my best day of him as Southeastern Conference commissioner, and I'm not one of these guys that just automatically hates commissioners. I just think he's missed some opportunities. So, in realistically, and nobody's coming out of the NCAA office for this. Yeah. So, who would be a reasonable choice for college football commissioner? Somebody who had both the business acumen, but also the understanding of what it takes to run an athletic department. I mean, you think about some of the more powerful athletic directors in the country. You think about, would somebody that had some previous experience. One of the names that came to my mind was Oliver Luck. Right. And Oliver Luck was at one time thought to be the NCAA president in waiting. He took the job with the XFL. That didn't work out. And Oliver Luck is as bright a person in regards to all these issues as you could get. That was one of the names that came to my mind. I don't know if anybody that would jump to mind for you.
Here's my problem. I agree. If you've been an AD somewhere, I think you can still do the job. Sometimes if you've been a coach somewhere, someone inside the Bayou Fort host said Barry Alvarez. Barry Alvarez, it'd be hard for him not to be biased towards the Big Ten in Wisconsin. That's human nature.
Yeah.
I feel like it would. If there was a 50-50 decision, well, he would lean towards the Big Ten, just like any coach, because you have a passion, right? And not only for your team, but if Nick Saban was that, right? Well, he'd have a passion for the SEC. He's won multiple national championships with different teams. And so when it became a decision, Big Ten, SEC, was probably going to lean the SEC. And so you can get into some trouble there. And athletic director, I feel like they've probably been other places, and so maybe they don't have that bias with them. So there's people out there that I could throw a name out, and we could talk about, this guy's been the AD here, president here, whatever. Sometimes the coaches, though, when we throw coach names out there, I just feel like it would be hard for them, even if it's not even intentional, not to have some bias.
All right, so this is, again, out of the Bayou Fort Huddle Cord. Cole says Herb Street.
Herbie!
You've got a former player there.
Yeah.
You've got somebody who has a very strong bond with many coaches across multiple leagues. He understands the broadcast end of the business, obviously. He's young. He's energetic. You could do a lot worse.
See, that I think that's a fair point, that he's got these relationships because he's done it for so long. He's got them all over the country. He played at Ohio State. His sons play at Clemson. But just let me tell you something. He has watched LSU many times. He was excited for Joe Burrow, like having conversations with him. He
moved out of Ohio to Nashville just to avoid the
right. So I'm saying I've seen him cheer for players and their stories and things like that, and I'm a big fan of Herbie. And so, maybe it is someone like that. Nookie says SVP is commish, and that's probably kind of a joke, but SVP's covered college football for a long time, So a TV executive wouldn't be the craziest, just out of this world idea. I actually think that there's some legs to that.
I don't know that Herb Street would be right off the bat comfortable hiring staff and all of these administrative positions, but as far as understanding what you would want to put strong lieutenants around him that understood kind of the layers of a conference office and what it would take to put. Again, you have some blueprints with conferences, but you would have to expand that. You would want to surround yourself with strong staff. Another announcer says Bob Stoops. That's interesting to me because Stoops is a powerful figure in the sport. He's had a ton of success in multiple leagues, looking for a job.
Florida, Oklahoma,
I could think, and he's younger than somebody brought up Mac Brown. I don't think that's a challenge that Mac Brown wants to take on.
Mac's got a hell of a football team right now.
He does, and I don't think that's something that he would want to take on at this.
We're throwing out former coaches out there. I mean, is Houston's Nutt his name about to come out? Houston Nutt for commissioner of college football?
I wouldn't think. So. Champ says Urban Meyer.
No, Urban's been There's been too many things that have come out about Urban from Ohio State, and
I think there's probably too much. There's probably too much baggage there. I would say no. Jules says Chris Fowler. If we're going to go the media route, Fowler and Van Pelt are locked into the sport. But if you're going to go in that direction, I like Herb Street's name a little bit better because he's a former player.
Yeah.
And not that you have to be a former player to be a good executive. I'm not.
I like that idea, though.
I don't want to misinterpret, but he's had experience at multiple layers. Player with the coaches in the broadcast arena. And he is, in a lot of ways, I know people don't like to say this if they don't like exactly the commentary that comes out of ESPN. At times they find it biased, and that's across the country. That's not just here. But in a lot of ways, Herb Street is the face of national college football.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that can kind of cross lines between conferences and get everybody's attention. There are worse ideas.
I feel like knowing Herb Street and having conversations with him, I truly feel like a lot of the bias leaves with him. I mean, I've had too many conversations where, we've been talking about team A, B, and C, and he's like, hey, wait a minute now, don't forget about team D that nobody's talking about, and it's a team that he has no affiliation with that nobody's talking about. He's like, hey, I've watched them, I've broken down the tape. The guy does his homework, and he appreciates resumes, and he understands being a former player and covering the game of the week for, the better part of a decade, right? He understands man, if Florida goes to LSU and wins that game, he knows what that win would mean. So I like it. Hey, start the campaign. It's 2020. Let's start the campaign.
Well, if we're going to campaign for anybody, we should campaign for Saban.
to get him out of there.
In all seriousness, he would be good at that job. If he decided that that's where he wanted to put his focus, he would be very good at that job. He's worked at every level of football, and when he zeroes in on something, he's going to be successful. He's just never the reason I've gotten that question for 10 years is when Saban going to retire, and it's like never. I mean, he's going to have to age out of football. He does, and he's a young 68 or 69 this year, whatever it is. He's going to have to age out of football. He's never shown, you know him better than I do, but
yes.
I know him fairly well. You know him a lot better. He's never shown any interest in doing anything else. He took a shot in the NFL, and that didn't work. And once that was over, he's never shown any interest in being an administrator. He doesn't want to be an athletic director. He's never shown any interest in doing full-time television, which he would be really good at if he decided to do that. He's never shown any aspirations outside of athletics, like running for public office, which Tommy Tuberville has done.
Right.
There's nothing else that drives him. Maybe you could correct me. Like I said, you know him better than I do.
That's everything that drives him. Winning and being a part of a team, that drives Nick Saban. And I agree. He's going to have to age out. There's not going to be a moment where he feels like he's fulfilled. There's not going to be a championship number. There's not going to be a win. There's not going to be, I'm going to go out on top. There's just not that with Nick. Nick is going to literally coach as long as he can.
I wish there was something
but
else.
There's not. There's just not. This is what drives. Getting up every morning and him being the first guy in the building and the last one to leave, that drives Nick Saban. And he's just got a passion for college football. And I just don't think there's a win total. There's not a record. A lot of people say, well, as soon as he gets as many titles as Bear, right? The next one he gets, that's going to be one more than Bear. That knowing Nick, does it mean something to him? Maybe, but it's not the driving force.
Well, there would be at least a little bit of a hook in that this would be a unique position, something that had never been created before. The father of the commissioner's office. I mean, they could name the commissioner's trophy after him or whatever. I mean, there's a Kennesaw Mountain Landis, Vince Lombardi combination. I don't know if that would attract him at all. But the idea that he could shape, that the first commissioner of college football could shape the new future of the sport, that would be attractive to a lot of people. Not to him maybe, but that would be attractive to a lot of people to be able to wield that kind of power.
So Nick has always kind of kept the same coaching staff for as long as he could. Now, in recent years, that's changed, and we all know there's stories out there of how difficult Coach Saban can be to work for. I mean, playing for him, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, he demands a lot, right? Who's going to put in for those jobs? Who's going to put in to be his lieutenants?
You're going to have to pay really well.
Right?
It's not going to be an easy no.
You're going to see Bobby Williams and Lance Thompson and all the the old coaches that follow him everywhere he's ever gone. I guess be the lieutenants there.
You're going to have to pay really well. They pay really well at Alabama, right?
Yeah. Everywhere he's been.
They've had to pay very well. Because
demanding, to say the least. I have seen the story that I always go to. I have seen him undress a chef at the hotel because we had a Jefferson Pilot kickoff game, and for pregame meal, they changed it up because pregame meal was at 5:50 a.m. It was still dark outside, and they had breakfast items, and he undressed the chef because the game time changed doesn't mean we don't get the steak and pasta like we always get for pregame meal, and literally undress this man in front of the whole team over at Log Cook because of that. So there's control stuff, and there's things that he likes his way, and if you don't do it that way, it's not part of the process. He doesn't really care who's around.
If you go to work for him, kiss your spouse goodbye on the first day of work, and I'll see you when I see you. I've heard that. I've heard that before. That's not too big of an exaggeration. Cody Worsham, when we come back here, hanging with Hester, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, we're brought to you every single day by our title sponsor, Richards Honda. Of course, you can always find them online if you're sitting at the house or if you're sitting at the office at richardshonda.com, where you can do a ton. You can have a chat with sales in the bottom right corner of the website right there on the homepage. In the bottom left corner, it tells you exactly how long you have left to save and the current specials they have going on right now. You can order parts and accessories. You can schedule service right there on the website. So when you pull into their state-of-the-art service center, they're waiting on you, ready to go. You can check out finance options as well. Of course, you can check out all the new and pre-owned vehicles right there on the site. But I encourage you, like I do every single day, go check them out at 13413 Millerville Greens Boulevard in Baton Rouge. That's I-12 and Millerville. They have over 700 vehicles that are priced to move on the lot right now. And I tell you all the time, too, no matter where you're at in your life, they've got something you'll fall in love with. Cars, midsize, full-size SUVs, vans, trucks, hybrids. They've got it all. You're going to drive away happy over at Richards Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Here at the Big Squeezy, we continue to serve the Baton Rouge and Southeast Louisiana areas during these troubling times. We are dedicated to providing you healthy food items to help you live your best life. From our cold-pressed juices to our delicious smoothies, let the Big Squeezy keep you going. Stay active, stay happy, and let us help you stay healthy. Visit us at our locations and also inside of Alexander's and the Thurns grocery stores or online at thebigsqueezy.com.
I'm Jay Cody. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jdacody.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Richards Honda is constantly looking for smart ways to make things easier for you. So we created our buy from home option. It's the easiest, most convenient way to shop for a car, all from the comforts and safety of your own home. Just log on to richardshonda.com, click on the buy from home button, and with a few simple steps, your new or pre-owned car will be ready for pickup or delivered right to your door. It's fast, easy, and smart. Try it today at richardshonda.com.
Our family of restaurants are fired up, and we can't wait to see you safely. Little Village Downtown. Call or go online for offerings and hours. Palermo Ristorante. We're serving great food right now. Little Village on Airline. Reward yourself. Stabs in Central? Nice. Stabs Prime on Jefferson. Steak or seafood? Introducing Sammy's Grill on Highland Road. We're socially responsible from a distance.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Plus, you can catch us on CST, Facebook Live, and our YouTube channel, 1045 ESPN.
All right, going to welcome back on to the show now, Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over at LSU Athletics. Cody, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been, what, a whole 2 hours? How long have you been on the air? It's been about that long.
Yeah, 2 hours and 18 minutes as I did my best sprint up from where we were recording the podcast earlier. And we were talking about on the podcast, which I think drops on Thursday, correct?
That's the plan.
Thursday-ish.
To put it out today would require me to do like actual work.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna push it off.
Of course, Cody, we were talking about the championship rings. It was one of the things that we mentioned on the podcast. The team received those rings yesterday, and you've put out a great story about those rings. I'm sure it feels good for you to actually write a story, and have some positive momentum to the story and not about everything else that we're talking about. Kind of preview the story that you put out there earlier about the championship rings.
Yeah, it's nice to have a professional purpose again, to write about some actual LSU sports news. So that was nice. Yeah, it was good. We've been working on it for a couple weeks. Obviously, the rings. To me, the most interesting thing, one of the best quotes that I got from the story was, I'd interviewed Greg Stringfellow and Louis Bourgeois with equipment, and I went to talk to Derek Finamsky, and I said, I've basically been trying to trace the origins of how long y'all have been thinking about the rings. Obviously, you have to start that before you actually win the championship. What was that like? And I love Derek thinking about this since we got here. Coach O has been thinking about winning the national championship since he took the job. And so some of the elements that he wanted to put in there was just to make it all about LSU, which is what Coach O always does. And, last night when they actually gave out the rings, the first thing that he said was, this is a player-driven program. You guys earned this. And that's so true. They earned those rings. They're beautiful. They are unlike anything that I've ever seen from a championship ring in a few different ways. First, the SEC ring is just huge. Like, it's just gigantic. I don't think I've ever seen a ring that big. And then the LSU issued national championship ring, this is just beautiful, the way that it incorporates all three school colors. And, there's a story behind everything on the ring. Everything has a purpose. But it's also not too gaudy. Like, you can see a lot of rings that are classy or, there's been stories in the past from other programs where they've won a national championship and the headline about their ring is, they're trolling this program with their ring, or they're trolling that program with their ring, or whatever. That's not the case here. This is all LSU. It's about those guys. It's about that team that we're never going to forget, and the rings are worthy of that.
Cody, it seems like everything that LSU does has a purpose, and there's a point to it. And everything at the end of the day points to LSU and team and the state of Louisiana. And even in the rings, like, I feel that. Like, I feel like they were designed with LSU, the team, and Louisiana in mind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, just, some of the phrases that you hear all the time around the program, hold that tiger, and one team, one heartbeat, the state of Louisiana is on there. And, one of the things that you pick up talking to the guys that helped design it is with three rings, you have a bigger canvas to work with. The ring is a very limited canvas. You can only fit so much on a ring. When you get three, you have a little bit more to work with. So they were able to figure out, where to put this, where to put that. And I thought they did a good job with appropriating each element to each specific ring. So, for example, my favorite feature is on the national championship ring, the LSU issued national championship ring. On the inside, it says the LSU standard of performance. It's got their interlocking LSU logo that they use internally. And I thought that was cool for a couple of reasons. One is just, it's something they talked about all season. It was specific to the 2019 team. That's something that Coach O started talking about last spring when they first got together. But that it's on the inside of the ring is meaningful too, because that was an internal thing. That wasn't something you saw on billboards. It wasn't something that you saw on social media a whole lot. That was something that was built in that room. And it's something they live by. Like, when I think on this team, I'll think about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Derek Stingley and all the guys that were superstars. But I'm also going to think about the character of this team. They didn't go to a bar all season. Like, they just stayed out of bars. They agreed as a team, we're not going to a bar. We're just going to focus on the game. And not that there's anything wrong with going to bars when you're in college. I think we all did it. But on the contrary, like, that's an extreme commitment that they made. And so that's what I think of this team. I think of the character of Lloyd Cushenberry and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Joe and Rashard Lawrence, just all the leadership. They were solely committed to this in a way that I haven't seen a lot of teams do, and I've been around a lot of teams who usually have some element of, it's a little bit about me, or it's a little bit about me going to have fun after the game, or it's a little bit, about being the big star on the college stage. This team didn't have that, and Joe was kind of the tone setter with that, but everyone else bought in, and that's why they got where they got.
Catching up with Cody Worsham here on Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Cody, you were at the event last night. Give us the behind the scenes. Who was the most excited to receive their championship ring? Who was the guy that could not stop staring at it?
Yeah.
Every team's got one. I'll go ahead and tell you, in 2007, my man Big Fave, Marlon Favre, I don't know if he's taking that ring off since he received it in 07?
Yeah, it's hard to say because they were really spread out. They're taking it seriously over there with the social distancing, so all the guys were spread out. I tried to keep my distance too. You could kind of hear as they looked under there, kind of the oohs and ahs. I think the first picture that I saw was Zach von Rosenberg. I think he had tweeted a picture of his rings before like half the team had even opened up the rings. So I think he was pretty excited about it. I saw Ed Ingram really enjoyed his ring. I'm trying to think of like some of the specific reactions that I saw. DeMar looked pretty fired up. Derek Stingley, who doesn't show a lot of emotion, had a big old smile on his face. So I think they were all pretty excited, and deservedly so. I think they were all pretty blown away by the presentation, to kind of look under your chair, kind of like a Oprah moment. You get one, you get one. I think they enjoyed that aspect of it. The thing that surprised me most is how quick it was. Like, it was 15 minutes and they were done. They had a video that they watched before, and that was the coolest part of the whole thing. You may have seen the video, Jacob, because you were in the video. And I think it's going to be released to the public at some point. But it was basically all the former players talking about what their rings meant to them, and that was cool. I mean, that was, you talk about history, you talk about tradition. I actually got goosebumps during that part, because you have an Andrew Whitworth come on and say, I'm Andrew Whitworth, I've played in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. He gives his resume, and at the end he says, I'm the 2003 National Championship champion. And man, that feels really good to say even still today. And that reminds you of what that ring means. It's not, they got it yesterday, but that's theirs the rest of their life. That's a forever thing. Like, no matter what you do the rest of your life, you can walk into any room in Baton Rouge, you can walk into any room in the world, really, and say, look, I earned this, I won this, me and my teammates did this together. That was really cool, because that's something that we'll all share. They get rings, but the fans get memories that they never lose either. So it just kind of reminds you of that. Yeah, it was a great 2019 season, and it's time to move on from it, but it's always going to be there too.
It would make sense that Von Rosenberg was the first one to get his and do all that, because they did it in like the oldest first, right?
Well, he didn't get credited for a game last year. What was the game they didn't punt? Was it the Ole Miss game? So he didn't get a full 15 games. So maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe he didn't fully earn. I'm just messing. I love Zach. He's a great guy.
Hey, Cody, we actually did find out if you're a holder and you don't do anything else in the game, you actually don't get credit for that game. And I found that out because I wanted to give Matt Flynn a hard time. And so even if Zach was the holder and didn't punt in the game, he actually does not get credit for that game.
That's right.
Yeah. So
you know what? I think that's discriminatory against holders. I think holders
are people too.
They're football players too. That's a tough job. That's a nerve-wracking
job.
Oh,
I hated it.
Wait, now we've got something we can work with. Does this mean that one of the freshman backup quarterbacks can hold this year and not count against their red shirt?
No, but if he throws a pass or has a fake, then it counts.
So he can't fumble a snap because then he'd be credited with a
exactly. But if you're
this is risky now.
If you're just the holder, you do not count towards participation in the game. That's why Flynn's career, he basically only played 1 year.
Okay.
This is peak summer radio discussion. Like,
summer plus COVID. Summer plus COVID for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, before we let you go, kind of tell our listeners exactly where they can find your story about the rings and the podcast coming up.
Yeah, stories up at LSUsports.net right now. There's some photo galleries and videos. There's more videos coming out at LSU Football's Twitter account and Instagram, all that stuff too. Podcast, like I said, I could probably actually do some work right now and get it out today, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow, give it the time and treatment it deserves. So it'll be up, Hey Fighting podcast feed, anywhere you get your podcast, it'll be on there. So yeah, definitely check it out, because Jacob just brought the heat with some stories from the 07 team, talking with some ring talk, and then we played a new game, which I'm excited about, a new game on the podcast. So check that out.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I'll just go ahead and tease it. It's called Get the Hat. Let's go ahead and tease that. Just leave that open to your imagination. So there you go.
I may make some music production today. That may be the one thing that I do today. Don't hold me to it, but I might do it.
All right, there he is, Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over at LSU. You can follow Cody on Twitter at Cody Worsham. Cody, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, we are brought to you by Hungry Howie's every single day. Hungry Howie's is home of the original flavored crust. So many different crusts to choose from. You got butter cheese, you got ranch, onion, Cajun, sesame, garlic, herb. So many different choices. You're going to find one that you absolutely fall in love with. Chances are you're going to find multiple that you fall in love with. Also, so many ways to get that flavored crust to you. You can order on hungryhowies.com. You can always call them at 761-HOWIE. Of course, that Nicholson location is open from 10 a.m. until 4 a.m. You cannot beat the hours over there in the Nicholson location. It is conveniently located in South Baton Rouge right there by campus. And the Hungry Howie's app is always available to you. We always tell you about the Hungry Howie's specials and deals they've got going on over at the restaurant there. Hey, log on to hungryhowies.com because we love the mix and match. Choose any two, $5.99 each deal. But that's not the only deal that Hungry Howie's have. They have so many different deals going on all the time. Again, website right there in the top right corner of the website. Give them a call, 761-HOWIE and hungryhowies.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
And Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Well, you know, we would be under normal circumstances, as you were talking about earlier with Peter Burns heading into SEC Media Days next week. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but it has not stopped the trickle down of all conference teams coming out. So we got I don't know if this is not the first preseason all conference team, but it is one that we pay attention to. This is Sports Illustrated's doing this. So I'm sure somewhere Ardellie's in there, getting his picks in. So there's a couple of things I want to run by you that came out. This is the first and second team all conference team. So first, LSU has 4 players on the first team all conference team, and I didn't think that this is very easy because you know that Jamar Chase and Derek Stingley Jr. are going to be first team all preseason All-Americans. So obviously they're going to be on the first team. And Tyler Shelvin was one of the other ones and is now being in some of the 2 early mock first rounds for next year. So who was the fourth? If you had to guess, those 3 are easy. You get a fourth one. Who else made the All SEC first team from LSU?
So the other guy that I think is actually going to be an All-American at the end of the season, if you heard when Bo Pelini was hired, the position you heard me talk about the most, it was the safety position. I've seen Bo Pelini transform safeties' careers, and Jacoby Stevens was already a hell of a football player. This is a young man that his game is actually going to go to the next level because of Bo Pelini, what he likes to do with that position. I cannot wait. More than any other player on the roster, cannot wait to see how Jacoby Stevens is utilized.
You are correct. You didn't cheat, did you?
I did cheat. Absolutely, I cheated because as all the listeners know, I'm a gigantic Jacoby Stevens fan. And by the way,
this bodes well because last year you were beating the drum for Clyde Edwards-Helaire as hard as anybody in the offseason. So
there wasn't many other people joining along with me.
No, you were. Look, I'll cop to that one. I thought he would. I thought one of those freshmen would overtake him. You stood firm on that. You never wavered. I'll give you a lot of credit. You never wavered in your opinion of that, and you couldn't have been more right. So if Jacoby Stevens is a guy,
he's my guy this year.
Okay.
He is my Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year. By the way, if they have a star to it, I'm assuming that means they're unanimous.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Derek Stingley Jr. doesn't have a star by his name, so that either is a misprint or this list just went out the window for
me. Yeah, he doesn't have a.
Because let me tell you something.
That can't
if
be
he
right.
was not unanimous, then this list is null and void already.
Yeah, that can't. Yeah, he can't be. You can't have Patrick Surtain as a unanimous defensive back.
Derek Stingley Jr. is the best defensive player in the country.
He is. Okay. Well. Okay. So then you can do the rest of the segment.
We're just going to assume that was a error and
it's a typographical error.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and say that. But you're right. There's a lot of LSU flavor on this list. That's not the only players. All-purpose defense. Derek Stingley as well gets one of that nod as well. So he's definitely in a misprint.
So on the second
situation.
team, this is what's interesting to me. LSU has 3 players on the second team. 2 of them didn't play for LSU last year.
Yep. 2 of them we have not seen in a Tiger uniform.
No. One of them, Eric Gilbert, the massive tight end. Huge recruit, is a co-second team selection. And the other one is Jabril Cox, the transfer linebacker from North Dakota State. There was a time, Jacob, when the media, meaning you didn't vote for freshmen for things like this.
Nope.
I went to media. I went to media days when there were 6 radio stations there, and they didn't even put freshmen on the ballot. It didn't matter. That is way, way, way in the past now. Not only is this something that happens, but this is something that's become somewhat commonplace for some of these guys. And if you watch Eric Gilbert, he posted a video on Twitter today, and you just look at the size of this guy who's I'm guessing 18 years old.
Well, it depends, All
right, maybe
I don't know if Marietta has the West Monroe Evangel John Curtis system. He could be 19.
Of this teenager.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, that is if you put him in an Indianapolis Colts uniform and took a picture and said, this is the Indianapolis Colts starting tight end, everybody said, okay.
Yep.
He looks like an NFL tight end. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Cox, we've seen do it at the college level. It's not at the SEC level, but that is a very good program.
Very good program. That would be
in
the middle of FBS. I mean, they wouldn't be in the bottom tier by any means. I mean, they would be there if they were in a conference with teams like, say you had this conference with Oregon State and Wake Forest and Rutgers. North Dakota State's a better football team than those Power 5 teams.
If they played 8 games in the Big 12, they could finish 500.
I believe that.
I mean, I don't think they could win the conference. They could finish 500 in the Big 12. They could definitely finish 500 in the Pac-12.
Right.
So that guy would have been drafted this year. Would have
Jim
probably,
Nagy's come on from a Senior Bowl and said he would have been drafted.
I think he would have been a second-day pick.
Yes.
Second or third rounder. Cade York also made the second team.
That's big. Cade
York,
following Cole Tracy last year. I know there was some times where it was a little shaky, but as a true freshman, I thought Cade York had a hell of a football season and only going to gain more confidence. And having a guy like Zach Von Rosenberg, who we kind of took a jab at because he is almost my age, right? Mm-hmm. That is very helpful to a Cade York. Last year, having Blake Ferguson, who'd been there for a very long time, that was helpful for him. And so you still have Zach there with him. He's only going to get better. The leg, we've all seen it. So good freshman year. He ends up on the second team here. I want to throw a question to you, though, Hanny.
Yep.
Of the LSU players not on this list, which one do you think is the biggest omission?
Biggest omission on this list of guys not.
I got one blaring at me.
Wow, that's really good. Probably Austin Deculus.
Not a bad one. That's actually a pretty good one. For me, it's Terrace Marshall. And
it probably gets dinged because of the games he missed, but yeah, if you're looking at the production for the games in which he played, sure.
I mean, was leading the country in touchdown receptions, and then he doesn't miss a beat. Then he comes back. He's got touchdowns in the national championship game against Alabama and all the biggest games, the Auburn game, right? He's the guy, and he was one of Joe Burrow's most trusted guys. If he doesn't get hurt, I would have loved to see what his numbers look like, right? And I understand you don't want to add too many LSU guys at one position. I don't care. You give me Terrace Marshall or Elijah Moore, I'm taking Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall or Seth Williams from Auburn, I'm taking Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall to me, and I know we're going to have some people inside the huddle say, 318, 3-1 grade, he's from Bossier or whatever. No, this is a hell of a football player that I think a lot of people forget was the #1 receiver in the country coming out of high school. He had big moments in 2018. He was growing as a player in 2019, gets injured, comes back, is still a strong football player. And I understand the first team is loaded. I'm not saying first team right now, but second team, absolutely. Give me some Terrace Marshall.
I asked this question yesterday when we were talking with Chris Doring, a guy nobody or very few people know his name right now, but a lot of people know his name by the middle of the season. Can I give you my pick? And if you're a recruiting buff, this name's not going to surprise you, but Eli Ricks may end up on one of these postseason lists, and I think he wants to go by Eli, not Elias. Now I think that's how they've listed him, so I'm going to call him Eli. Eli Ricks has, put it this way, he has made an impression, as I'm told. And look, this is not like some 2-star recruit that nobody knows about. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Wrong crowd, Hanny.
Know your audience.
He said that with passion too.
This is not a 2-star recruit that's going to come from out of
and
nowhere.
Then he said it again.
It's a compliment. You have to take it that way. It's not a 2-star recruit that nobody knows about. This was a #1 player.
Right.
He's going to play. He's going to play. This is my prediction. He's going to play. He's going to play early. He's going to turn some heads.
Okay, so I'm very interested in how the DB rotation works out because Derek Stingley Jr. obviously is going to be on one side. Eli Ricks, at some point, maybe he's on the other side. Let's not forget about Cordell Flott.
Cordell Flott, yeah.
Cordell Flott was a guy that he impressed as a freshman. When you look at the raw numbers, there's times where he was the best corner on the field when he was on the field, even with Fulton and Stingley. And so this is a guy that last year when Fulton got hurt in camp, he stood up and stood tall as a true freshman in fall camp and didn't miss a beat. But I agree with you that they've got to find a way to get all those guys on the field. And Kerry Benson, who did a really nice job at nickel at the end of the year. Now, he struggled at the beginning of the year. We all know that, but he found his way and was a really good player at the end of the year. Could he potentially play more safety? Could he potentially play a little bit more of a free safety role? Could that
Todd
be
Harris
something
is
that we're
back.
Right, you got Todd Harris.
Maurice Hampton is back.
Right, you got Todd Harris. I think Maurice Hampton might transition to the backup behind Jacoby Stevens, that strong safety because of his size. And Todd Harris coming back is big. But and I know, you need multiple defensive backs, especially the way college offenses are going. And so they got him. That's why, and no disrespect to Eric Monroe. Eric Monroe, played a little bit here at LSU. He's going to Texas Tech. I wish him the best. I think he's a really good young man. That loss didn't hurt you because you have options there at the safety position. And you have options, Hanny, and guys that can play multiple spots. Like if Mo Hampton played free, I'd feel okay with it. I think he's more of a strong safety, but he can do free safety. I think Kerry Vincent can play free safety. He can play the nickel. Todd Harris can play both safety positions. And so they've got not only depth, but they've got guys that can give you multiple spots.
It's not going to surprise me at all if Eric Monroe starts at Texas Tech.
No, not at all. I mean, one of the former analysts is a DB coach there now at Texas Tech, and so there's a reason he went there. And if Eric Monroe started from day one, I would not be shocked.
And how much playing time would he have reasonably gotten here?
Defensively?
Yeah.
It would have been under 10 plays a game.
Right.
I mean,
we're talking about a starter. I know it's Texas Tech and they don't play much defense over there.
I think Cam Lewis was ahead of Eric Monroe on the depth chart for sure.
He was.
And Cam Lewis
it certainly was last year.
A name that we didn't even say in that segment, and Cam Lewis is still there. And there was a point last year where Cam Lewis was covering Jalen Waddle in the slot against Alabama. So he's playing meaningful snaps on the best team ever. He's going to play meaningful snaps as well. So, again, not trying to hate on Eric Monroe. Eric Monroe's got some talent to him, but not on this team. He wouldn't have played.
Out of the Bayou Ford huddle, is Maurice Hampton going to be healthy? As far as I know, he's, be back and ready to go. I don't know that he's not.
That injury, from everything I've heard, is one that would be tougher to come back in baseball than football, just because of where it's located and all the different muscles you use in baseball. And it's been a while.
Another one, this is from Brody, says B.J. Ojulari is a sleeper for next year. He is he's been so impressive so far that I don't even. But he's a sleeper now because he hasn't played yet. Nobody knows his name, that are just casual fans. But by the time you get to Labor Day weekend, assuming we play, I think that's one of those names that Ogeron's going to talk about all camp, right? He picks guys sometimes and he just ends up talking about them all camp and they end up playing a lot. I think he's going to be one of those guys. He may not be the only one, but he's going to be one of those
There's
guys.
always a very good indicator when the freshmen come in. And if you're in the building long enough, and I'll go over there, any guys that the equipment and the training staff start to talk about because they even notice it, not even the coaches,
right,
you can expect big things. BJ is probably the guy I've heard about more than any other of the incoming freshmen. It's kind of been Gilbert and BJ, so it's funny that's how it worked out. But those are the two guys that when you go over there, they're like, oh, Hess, just wait till you see this.
You're giving up your sources now. This is where you're getting all your stuff.
Yeah,
that's okay.
It's okay. I think I hold a lot of my inside information in.
It's legit stuff, though. Legit stuff. Ask us when we come back here. We are on CST, Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN, 1130 The Tiger, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal. Together.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Got a little bird whispered in our ear about Maurice Hampton is healthy.
We're going to be all right.
So, yeah. Let's see. All right, you ready for Ask Us?
Let's hit.
All right, let's go. First one. Ask Us. Is Miles Brennan going to be the best LSU quarterback to ever wear 15? Look, you guys got to lay off Flynn today. He had a baby. He had a baby today. So come on.
Without a doubt, it's going to be by far the best number 15 that's not from the state of Louisiana to ever play quarterback at LSU.
I'm gonna defer to you on that. I think that we got to, if you missed it at the top of the show, Flynn was supposed to be with us today, wasn't today.
Yeah. So congratulations to Lacey. I don't know about Matt.
Well, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Ask Us, can we expect more arguments on this show as soon as the game starts? I promise. Yeah. As soon as the game starts, we will probably have differing opinions on some of that.
I can say there won't be as many arguments as the Otter and Hanny had.
No, sometimes he just invented stuff.
Yeah.
Ask Us, what are the chances that Phillip Webb and B.J. Ojulari are the best two pass rushers this season?
That's a great question, and Phillip Webb's another name that we've kind of heard, from the coaching staff and other people around the building. I think that's wide open, Hanny. I don't think there's any name that I'm like, okay, this is going to be the best rusher on this team. And with the way Coach O likes to play freshmen, he doesn't care if they're ready, they're ready. Absolutely, I can see one of these guys. I think that B.J. is going to be a guy that's in contention to lead the team in sacks. I truly do.
Ask Us, had Ryan Perrilloux not had problems, how would LSU have been in 08 and 09, and how would it have changed the quarterbacks' situations for Jarrett Lee and Jordan Jefferson? See, we should probably just lead tomorrow's show off with this, and we can do 3 hours on that one.
We could. I'll give you the quick answer. I wasn't on those teams, but as Richard Dixon always points out, they did score points in 2008. But obviously, they had the problem of giving points to the other team by throwing the pick sixes, right? That was one of the big things in the turnovers there. So they did score points. There were some defensive issues on those teams as well, right? You had the dual coordinators. That didn't work out. So it wasn't only the quarterback position.
Ask us, favorite SEC Media Day interview?
Favorite SEC Media Day?
You think about yours, and I'll tell you mine. And it's been a while since I've been to Media Days because I no longer enjoyed the event. But my favorite SEC Media Day interview was Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was hysterical, and he was loose. He was candid. He told good stories. He told funny stories. If I'd had a chance to interview Spurrier after he retired, which I never had a chance to do, I did several times because but Steve was so cocky, and at that point LSU hated him so much because he was just beating their brains in that it wasn't enjoyable. So for me, it was Lou Holtz.
As a player, and I know this is, taking the easy route. I had Foster Moreau one-on-one when he went to Media Days, and he was wearing number 18, so we kind of did a story on that. That was really enjoyable for me, and Foster is a very intelligent young man and gave some great answers, so that one was fun. As far as a coach, I remember 2 years ago, we interviewed Mark Stoops for our SiriusXM coverage, and he was there for a purpose. He meant business. He had this look on his face that he was ticked off the entire time because he felt like people were disrespecting his team. It almost felt like a WWE promo when he got on the mic. It was fantastic. It made me a believer in Kentucky, and Gordy gives me a hard time because, I've been on Kentucky the last 2 years, but because of his coaching style and how he has people believing in that program, I had to say that's my favorite. Try not to be biased. I could pick like 7 LSU guys.
Sure. Ask us, oatmeal or grits?
Ooh, great question. Cinnamon and spice oatmeal is hard to beat, but if you get some homemade grits that are done the right way, remember yesterday, no instant grits.
I saw my cousin Vinny. I know. No.
Oh, yeah.
No
the best line in that movie, everything that guy just said, I can't say it.
Ask us, which LSU running back sees the most carries this year?
Chris Curry's going to get the most carries, in my opinion. I think he showed that he can be a workhorse. Now, all three of those guys are going to get touches. They all three have a different skill set. I cannot wait to see how that plays out. And, they've got a hell of a running back coach in Kevin Falk to lead them.
Yeah, it does. I'll say Ty Davis Price just to be I should know better than to buck you on running back stuff.
I think they're all going to be close, though,
yeah,
Hanny.
be very, very close. And that's going to do it for us. Stay tuned for AFR. Somebody told me it was Matt's birthday. I don't know if that's true or not. So wish Matt a happy birthday.
How old's Matt?
I didn't even know it was his birthday until somebody.
38-ish?
Ask us.
Sure.
How old is Matt?
Well, he'd have to look at the huddle for that. But
38. That's what we're going with?
Sure.
All right.
Final answer.
His show's next. He can answer it himself. For Paul O'Neill, for Cade Waz, and for Jacob Hester, I'm Charles Hanagriff. Thank you and good afternoon. This has been Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Find your keys. Find your get up and go.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult.